freedom, man. That's what it's all about. You've got to groove on freedom, like the good book says.
Welcome. You are listening to What on Earth is Happening. This show will discuss the topics of human consciousness, mind control, natural law, the occult, and all issues that affect the freedom of the people of Earth. What on Earth is Happening will endeavor to shine light upon the darkness of our world and to offer empowering solutions to the problems we face as humanity approaches its critical moment of choice. And now, here is your host, Mark Passio.
Welcome one and all. You're watching What on Earth is Happening. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. Ladies and gentlemen, government is slavery. And here on What on Earth is Happening, we are ending slavery one mind at a time. Welcome everyone to the live show. We stream here live every Sunday from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We simulcast at whatonearthishappening.com, Facebook, Vimeo, and YouTube. Today is Sunday, June 12th, 2020. We have a great show lined up for you here today. Today is episode 230 of What on Earth is Happening, and our main topic for discussion is part 4 of the psychological state of police and their supporters. We are also going to be taking your calls on this topic right after I finish the material for part 4. And that will probably be fairly early. We don't have too long to go. So let's switch over to the slides. This is the title card for today's broadcast. I have a couple of quick housekeeping announcements, and then we'll jump right into the topic. We are still accepting donations to help complete the documentary Mark Passio and the Science of Natural Law. You can donate for this at gifts.whatonearthishappening.com. Please don't send a straight donation for gifts toward the documentary. Use the gift site, okay? Don't use the donate page for that. We have 5 donation tiers on the gifts area. All donations go directly to production costs. All donors will receive a complimentary copy of the completed documentary on flash drive and DVD. Thank you to everyone who has donated. You're making this project go very smoothly. We are going to be finishing this more likely than not by the end of the year. It may slip into next year a little bit, but not by much, but it is looking like it's on target for completion by the end of the year. So thank you to everyone who has helped with this huge project, and I think everybody's going to be very happy with the completed documentary when we finish it. New shirts have arrived at the gifts area of What on Earth is Happening. They came in this week. I'm wearing one of the new designs. This is the Mark Passio and the Science of Natural Law t-shirt. We have 3 shirts now available in long sleeve design. That is the Natural Law, the One Great Work, and the Science of Natural Law t-shirt. I also have my new presentation, Worldview Violence, still in the gifts area, and the complete Mark Passio One Great Work collection solid state drive. Available at gifts.whatonearthishappening.com. Briefly, I'm going to step out of the presentation and go over to my web browser because I want to show you guys what some of these new shirts look like. They really came out great. I'm very happy with them. So switch back over and we'll go to the gifts area with this button here. You can go with this tab. It's going to just tell you need a PayPal account or cryptocurrency wallet. We'll say yes. That'll take us into gifts. Let me go back to the home page here. I was logged in. And we can go here to men's t-shirts or women's t-shirts, and you'll see the designs that are available. Under natural law, we've gotten the natural law t-shirts back in. This is the new color palette, and this is the long sleeve design. And you can take a look at the images for the long sleeve shirts. They came out really well. I think these are going to be a pretty popular item. The One Great Work shirt, same color palette. And same, we have long sleeves available in this design. And then this is the new shirt here. It's called the Science of Natural Law t-shirt. And they are only available in black, long sleeve or short sleeve. I'll show you the long sleeve design with the artwork from the documentary. And on the back it says, as morality increases, freedom increases. And as morality declines, freedom declines, with the whatonearthishappening.com website address. So that is the new t-shirts available at gifts.whatonearthishappening.com. Let's go back to my slides. All right. I want to speak briefly about how to become the new media seminar. We started it very successfully last Tuesday. Attendance was great, and we made a couple of quick changes. I made a little spelling error here. Hold on, let me just fix that. Okay, we made a couple of changes to the seminar this week. Class number 2, this Tuesday, July 14th. The Zoom meeting has been converted to a webinar. Okay, so this is going to make things a lot smoother and easier, folks. Yeah, we can go back to the slide. I had another little space error there. We converted it to a webinar. There's going to be less distraction. I think it'll help with bandwidth. I think it'll also assist with people getting in easy. Okay, there'll be less distraction because you won't have anybody's, video on your screen. It'll just be my video. You will still be able to raise your hand to ask a question. I'm going to have a couple of co-hosts this week who are going to assist me in bringing people into the room and alerting me when they have a question. So I think we learned a lot from the first class on how to host it a little bit better. I sent out a new email. There is a new join link, so please be attentive of that. You can still join with the same meeting ID. It is now just a webinar ID, but it is the same numbers to get into the class. Okay, so you could still put those numbers when you hit join in Zoom. You could still put those numbers in to get into the class. We are starting the webinar an additional half hour early to ensure that everyone gets in. So you will have a 1 hour joining window to the class. So the webinar will start at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. There is no excuse to be late. Please, ladies and gentlemen, who have very generously donated to take this seminar, please be on time. I'm asking you sincerely and nicely. It's rude to show up late for other students. Just show up on time and get maximum value for the class. Just don't be late if you intend to take this seminar. Okay? I'm asking that respectfully. Okay? Please be respectful of me and the other students. Be on time. You have 1 hour window to come into the class. No one should be joining after 8 p.m. Okay? Let's be realistic. All right? Be an adult about this and join the class within the 1 hour window. Don't come late. Okay? And there's a very important reason. I can't repeat things. Other people who are there on time want to have their time respected. I'm not going to repeat things that I talk about early in the class. And if I covered it and you say, and then you have a question about something that I covered that you don't know that I covered because you were late, I'm not going to field questions about that. I'll field questions on how things work or clarify things. But if I covered something and you weren't there for it, I don't want questions asked later about it when you had the opportunity to be on time. Okay? So just be respectful when it comes to that. Keep a notepad handy for notes and questions. Headphones are recommended so you don't create echo or feedback. If you do ask a question publicly in the class, no one has to interact. You can passively watch this seminar, no problem, okay? But if someone does have a question, you want to interact with me in the class, I ask you to wear headphones because that will eliminate feedback into your own speakers or echo. If you have any problems joining this seminar, you can email truemedia@whatonearthishappening.com and we will do our best to field any questions that you may have. That's all about how to become the true media. I look forward to the class this Tuesday evening. We are announcing today that What on Earth is Happening has entered into a working cooperation with Autonomy. And we're very proud of this. These guys have a lot of integrity and are doing a lot of great work. So, Autonomy is the brainchild of Richard Grove of TragedyandHope.com, Tragedy and Hope Communications. Many people will recognize Richard from being the individual who recorded and edited the Natural Law Seminar. This is who helped to bring that seminar to the public. I want to say something about our cooperation with Autonomy. I want to say something about Richard. Everything that Richard has ever told me that he would do, he has fulfilled. He is a man of his word. Autonomy is a teaching group, you could look at it as. Okay? It teaches people some of the skill sets that I'm teaching them in how to become the true media. All of my interactions with Autonomy thus far have really worked out for the betterment of what on earth is happening. They have come to our assistance in a time of need. I consider Richard and the people at Autonomy very honorable and trustworthy people, and we are in a proud working relationship with them, and they are going to make things possible for us that weren't possible previously. So thank you to the Autonomy team. I think other people should check into Autonomy and the work that they are doing. You can visit their website at getautonomy.info. I want to step out and go to the website and show you guys their site, and also show you Tragedy and Hope Communications if you aren't familiar with that. So, let's switch over. I've made a tab with Autonomy. This is getautonomy.info. This is Autonomy's website. You can, basically look at some introductory videos about what Autonomy is and what they do and the services that they provide. And, it's a pretty extensive website that goes into how it works, user testimonials, explaining the different steps that you can take to move further into a relationship with Autonomy. And again, you'll get a lot of valuable skill sets from working with Autonomy. That's what it's all about. It's about teaching people how to do the technological aspect of the great work. Very similar to what we're doing with how to become the true media. This is Richard's main website, TragedyandHope.com. I highly recommend it. There's a lot of great information. He has done the Peace Revolution podcast as well. It's one of the best podcasts on the internet as far as I'm concerned. And if people are not familiar with Richard Grove and Tragedy and Hope, I think you need to become familiar with them because it's invaluable material that everybody should really already be aware of. All right, that being said, we're very happy to have entered into this partnership with Autonomy. So we can move back to my slides. Thank you. Let's move into some of the material for today's broadcast. So I always like to take a jab at all the stuff that's going on regarding the COVID-19 alleged pandemic, but what it really is a huge PsyOp. And we're going to be getting into this in future shows. Okay, I generally don't talk about things happening of the day, the daily events. I don't follow political events. We talk about causal factors in consciousness, in the realm of the mind, in philosophy, in getting down to what you need to change in your thinking in order to change the results that we all receive in the world at large. But, beginning these last few shows, I've just taken a jab at what's going on, at the ridiculousness of it, of the ridiculousness of the level of belief of the mainstream media, that people believe they're telling us the truth about this, even though they're lying to us about literally everything else. These are the people who told you that smoking cigarettes was healthy in the past. These are the people that will tell you that taking products with aspartame is perfectly fine for your health. These are the people that told us that there were weapons of mass destruction hidden in Iraq that cost 1 million Iraqi lives. You know, everybody suddenly forgets that. But now suddenly they're telling us the truth about the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, please. You have to be a naive child to believe that. Okay? These are paid liars. They're part of Operation Mockingbird, which is a CIA integration into the mainstream news media and has been taking place since the 1970s. All you got to do is look it up and read about it. And most people have never heard about it. You know, the same way they never heard about Project Cyclone or Project Paperclip. You know, some of the biggest covert operations in intelligence history. Because people are ignorant of world history. They're ignorant of modern history and ancient history alike. You know, so is this about a virus, or is this about controlling every damn aspect of your life that they can get their grubby little control freak paws into? This is a control game, ladies and gentlemen, and it always has been. It's nothing new. It's just another phase that they've moved into, and they've got most of the dumb population buying into it lock, stock, and barrel, hook, line, and sinker, because they're members of a cult religion, a religious system of belief that the media and Big Daddy are looking out for our interests and they care about us and our well-being. I mean, nothing could be further from the truth. I would hope with, you know, every cell in my body that my listening audience understands this already. But, you know, the general public is still dead asleep to this, folks. And that's our job to wake them up. But, you know, if you think these people are stupid, just, you know, look at some of the Thin Blue Line supporters that then want to, you know, also use the Gadsden flag in combination with that. You know, I mean, these people have to be on some bad drugs is all I can think. You know, so this meme says, if you ever feel stupid, just remember there are people out there that are so indoctrinated they think freedom means supporting the police. You know, and that's what this whole series, these last 4 episodes have been. Explaining that the police are a cancer. They always have been a cancer. It's nothing new. It's not anything new. Just because the George Floyd incident happened. It's been like this forever, since the inception of policing. They've always been tyrants. They've always been the control arm of the ruling elitists. They've never been anything other than that. They've always been low-level members of the Satanic Cult that ultimately rules this world. They're cult members. They always have been cult members. Their supporters have always been supporters of the big cult. Their supporters have always been the supporters of slavery. First of all, that's where the police came from. They were started by forming runaway slave patrols. Look it up. Study about it in history. That's how American policing began on this continent. It formed from groups that were formerly runaway slave patrols during the Civil War era period. And people do not know this because they're ill-studied and ill-read in world history and American history. And then they want to try to say that they're going to call the shots or tell people how it is. And, you know, I said last week I've taken pot shots at people like this and called them retarded because that's what they are. And then other people are calling me an ableist because of this. You know, and I said, hey, maybe I am. Maybe I'm an ableist. So let's take it further. You know, this is what people who believe in government are. You're a little slow on the uptake, you know. Maybe I have to put a partnership together between the guy from Team America and Special Ed here. You know, maybe we should bring them both into some kind of a video at one point. I think they'd be good partners together. You know, Vomit Puppet guy from Team America and Ed, Special Ed from Crank Anchors, right? People are incapable of governing themselves. So we'll elect people to govern for us. Yay! You know? Yeah. I mean, that's what it really sounds like. It sounds like he got hit in the head with a hammer at birth. Really, it does. You know? And again, I'm not going to sugarcoat my words. I'm not going to baby spoon feed it to people. This is a form of mental retardation. It's certainly spiritual retardation. Anybody that believes government should exist at all or policing should exist at all, you literally are spiritually slow on the uptake. You're a little bit spiritually retarded. Because that's all it means. It means to be slowed down. You're not making the progress that you should make. You're slow. That's what the word to retard as a verb means. To retard means literally to slow a process down. And that's what's happening. People are just slow on the uptake. They don't understand. They haven't moved forward in their mental processes, and they haven't moved forward in their spirituality. You know, they think they're awake, they think they're woke, and they're nothing of the kind. They haven't even begun the spiritual awakening process if they still believe in government. That's the beginning of understanding that what real true spirituality is understanding that there is no such thing as authority and no one has the right to rule anybody. If you're not there in spirituality, you're not awake. You're not spiritually enlightened or awakened. Not even a little bit. So let's get that straight. Here's some of the other people who are a little slow on the uptake. The people who say, yeah, we should defund or even abolish the police, but what are we going to replace it with after we abolish it? And I've likened that to replacing a certain type of cancer that you've just removed from the body because it has become so aggressive and deadly that you had to actually cut it out of the body physically through surgery. You know, saying what should we replace the police with, back to the slide please, is the exact equivalent of a hospital patient that has just had an operation, a very serious operation for lung cancer, and they've had a huge tumor removed from the inside of their lungs, and the doctors are hovering over their bed saying, what kind of cancer would you like to replace your lung cancer with, miss? That's what it's like saying. That's exactly the level of retardation that we are talking about. From people who think, yeah, we should abolish the existing police force, but what should we replace it with? Some other form of policing. It's all slavery, ladies and gentlemen. The problem cannot be solved from the same level of consciousness that created the problem to begin with. No problem can be solved at a low level of consciousness. You have to come up to a higher level of consciousness to understand that all policing is, ever has been, and ever will be, is a form of slavery that is morally illegitimate and always has been morally illegitimate. And if you don't understand that, you need to go back and listen to all the previous episodes of What on Earth is Happening. Again, this show builds upon earlier prerequisite material. It's called prerequisite knowledge. This is called cumulative knowledge. You cannot understand the things that we are going to be talking about here in the later episodes, like this episode number 230, unless you understand the prerequisite knowledge that has all been laid out in the earlier episodes. It's cumulative. It's built upon the earlier information. So if you start listening here, you're not going to understand what I'm talking about. You are going to be largely lost. You have to listen from show number 1 in order without skipping around. You start at show 1, proceed to show 2. When you're finished with show 2, proceed to show 3. Do not go from show number 3 to show number 25. Go to show number 4. It's called simple counting in order. Follow it in order. It's there in order for a reason. They're not separate shows. It's all one show. This is piece or part 230 of the show called What on Earth is Happening, which you can consider one show. Okay? You will not understand show 229 or 230 or 231 without going through all of the earlier episodes in order. So I try to say that every week. Some people listen and follow me up on my recommendation, and then they'll get back to me when they're at like show 75 and they'll go, thank you for telling me to listen in order, Mark, because I wasn't doing that before and I could not hear what you were saying. I literally couldn't hear it. I couldn't force myself to listen to it. My mind would not accept what you were saying until I got all the prerequisite knowledge in the earlier shows. I receive emails from people like this all the time that finally listened and did what I recommended and listened in order at your own pace. And then you will understand what I'm saying here in these later episodes. If you don't do that, more likely than not, you will not understand. It will be like walking in at the end of a class and you're going to be like, what the hell is the instructor talking about? I have no idea what he talked about to get to this point. So I'm going to continue to reiterate that. Last week, we performed a full reading. I attempted to go through the full document, but we didn't quite make it, of the document by a former police officer called Confessions of a Former Bastard Cop. So we got about 3/4 through that document last week. I'm going to continue a little bit earlier than where we left off, and we're going to continue the reading of Confessions of a Former Bastard Cop. As I did last week, I will make this available again with the podcast for this episode. So I'm going to step out of my slides briefly, and I'm going to bring up my PDF document. Okay, we can switch back. Great. And we're going to pick up from where, okay, now I'll just give a little bit brief review. This document is a former police officer who quit his job because he saw all of the corruption, violence, theft, and lying, just the outright immoral behavior that went on, not in isolated incidents, but as a daily reoccurrence in the police force, and as something that was routinely covered up, swept under the rug, not talked about. There was a code of silence about it, and it was a known issue of evil that just went on completely unhindered and with complete impunity in the police force as a matter of practice. Not as, oh, one bad apple's just doing this. No, it was almost all of them, and the higher-ups covered it up. Covered up all the evil doings that the police did on a daily basis. He went through a veritable shopping list of all of the crimes committed by the police. Then later he talked about, well, what does the public usually think that we should do about it? And he talked about why those things don't work. Then he proposed some of his own solutions, which I agreed with some of them, and then others I thought he was coming at too much from a false dialectic of capitalism versus socialism approach, which is not the answer. Really, ultimately, they're both control systems and belief systems, and ultimately they are methodologies and mechanisms of the Satanic Cult that ultimately rules the world. They are not either one of them solutions. Okay? Then this former cop moved in his document to talking about a final idea of consider the complete abolition of all police departments everywhere. And that's where I'm going to pick up the reading of this document from. So here we go, continuing with and finishing Confessions of a Former Bastard Cop. Now, once again, these are his words, not mine. I am reading from his document. One final idea. Consider abolishing the police. I know what you're thinking. What? We need the police. They protect us. As someone who did it for nearly a decade, I need you to understand that, by and large, police protection is marginal and incidental. It is an illusion created by decades of propaganda, as he calls it, designed to fool you into thinking that these brave men and women are holding back the barbarians at the gates. He should have really put that in quotes. These brave men and women are holding back the barbarians at the gates. That's the illusion, folks. That's what we've talked about over the last several episodes. Police do not protect anyone. They show up after the fact. They are not stopping any violence from occurring. They show up to arrest and potentially punish the person who commits violence, but they do not protect you from violence and never can. They have never done that. They never can do that. The only one that can ever protect you from violence is you. By studying martial arts, carrying a firearm, learning situational awareness, engaging in true common sense and personal responsibility, period, the end for all time. No one else can protect you. No one can get to your body quicker than you. Having understood this for the longest time, that is why I am trained in martial arts and I carry a firearm in public. That's it. That's what mitigates my chances for being harmed. because I know how to handle myself physically. And in addition to that, if I'm outnumbered and I don't have to go to deadly force, I carry a firearm. That's it. And that's what everyone should have the capabilities of. Man, woman, and I would say even children should be learning that until they become responsible as an adult. That's it. Even children should be learning martial arts for sure. That's called the inherent natural right of self-defense, which is shared by all human beings. All human beings have that inherent right. That being said, let's go back to the reading. I alluded to this above. The vast majority of calls for service I handled were theft reports, burglary reports, domestic arguments that hadn't escalated into violence, loud parties, houseless people loitering. I like his use of the term houseless. They're not homeless people. They have no house. They need a house. Okay? Houseless people loitering, traffic collisions, very minor drug possession, arguments between neighbors. Mostly the mundane ups and downs of life in the community, with little inherent danger. And like I mentioned, the vast majority of crimes I responded to, even violent ones, had already happened. My unaccountable license to kill was irrelevant. What I mainly provided was a quote-unquote objective third party with the authority to document property damage, ask people to chill out or disperse, or counsel people not to beat each other up. A trained counselor or a conflict resolution specialist would be 10 times more effective than someone with a gun strapped to his hip, wondering if anyone would try to kill him when he showed up. There are many models for community safety that can be explored if we get away from the idea that the only way to be safe is to have a man with an M4 rifle prowling your neighborhood, ready at a moment's notice to write down your name and birthday after you've been robbed and beaten. You might be asking, what about the armed robbers, the gangsters, the drug dealers, the serial killers? And yes, in the city I worked, I regularly broke up gang parties, found gang members carrying guns, and handled homicides. I've seen some tragic things. From a reformed gangster shot in the head with his brains oozing out, to a 15-year-old boy taking his last breath in his screaming mother's arms thanks to a gang member's bullet. I know the wages of violence. This is where we have to have the courage to ask, why do people rob? Why do they join gangs? Why do they get addicted to drugs or sell them? Once again, folks, stepping out of the reading briefly, what have we talked about from day one here on What on Earth is Happening? Why is this show different than all of the other podcasts out there? Causal factors. Root level causal factors in psychology and philosophy. Garbage goes in the form of information, and then it is believed culturally. Garbage will come out in the form of behavior, and it will make everybody's living experience hell. That's a simple equation when it comes to the human condition. That is not what human nature is. Human nature, as we are going to talk about extensively, probably on the next series of shows that I do, is that human beings are programmable through information. That is why the controllers of the world have to give people either a limited set of informations and variables to consider, or they have to outright hide the information that people do need to know to come to an informed decision and then understand what they should act, how they should act, what they should do. Okay? If you don't have that prerequisite information in the form of knowledge, you are not going to understand what that information means, and then you are not going to be able to base your behavior accordingly. Garbage goes in, garbage comes out. You could look at it as garbage or incomplete data goes in, then garbage behavior is going to come out. So if garbage in the form of information goes into the person, that is what is going to inform their decision making and their behavior. Continuing with the reading. This is not because people are inherently evil. He understands this, and I'm glad to see that he does. I submit to you that these are the results of living in a capitalist system And that's where I disagree. No, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the result of living in a capitalist system. It is the result of living in a satanic system. Let's not conflate the two or confuse them. We are not even living in a capitalist model at all. We are living in crony capitalism, which paves the way to socialism and communism ultimately. Sometimes it paves the way to fascism. Right now, the public has bought socialism hook, line, and sinker, and that is the stepping stone through the crony corporatist environment that we have toward going to complete communism, getting people to bite the bait of socialism. I've talked about this ad nauseum on What on Earth is Happening and explained how it works politically. I think if you don't understand that, again, you're very naive or you have an incomplete data set and you don't have the information that you require to come to that correct conclusion. I would recommend reading the book None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen. And I would also recommend the book The Grand Chessboard by Caroll Quigley and the book Tragedy and Hope by Caroll Quigley. Then you'll understand how it really works from the horse's mouth. And very few people have ever read those books. So they have an incomplete data set. And it's not just those books, it's hundreds of others. Sometimes it's right from the white papers of the people conducting the control freak behavior that are telling you how they did it. I've told people many times on my show, the Satanists that I worked with in the what other people might call covens or secret societies, they were called grottos in the groups that I worked with, were all too happy to tell you, we already control things, we own the police and the military, they're our pets, they'll do anything we command them to do, like loyal dog servants. And this is what they called them out in the open, blatantly, you know. And they were perfectly and completely open about that in private. Okay? Yeah, this is the book right here. Check this one out, folks. If you haven't read it yet, if you don't understand what's written in this book, you understand very little about what's going on in the 3D world that we are living in today. None Dare Call It Conspiracy by the former Senator Gary Allen. Okay? Written in the year 1970. 70. I wasn't born when this book was written. And now all the things that were talked about it today are coming true. Everything. See, he doesn't discriminate. He's got the hammer and sickle as part of it. He's got the dollar as part of it. He's got, the Chinese star as part of it. He's got the communist symbol that they use in Black Lives Matter here with the raised fist. He's got the UN symbol. He's got it all. He's got it all. It's all part of it. They control all of the sides, folks. It's a dialectic. I've asked people at my own lectures who's read that book. 3 hands go up in the room. It's pathetic. It's unacceptable. I've told people it's unacceptable that you think you're informed and you haven't read None Dare Call It Conspiracy. You're not informed. You have a halfway understanding in your opinion at best. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it anymore. I'm going to tell people when they're ignorant. If you haven't read that book, you're pretty damn ignorant. You don't really understand how it works. You would have been drawn to that book if you were looking in the right places. This is part of the problem. People aren't even looking in the right places. I say it to people all the time, and it can sound as egotistical as you want to hear it. People who say, I really know what's going on in the world, and then somebody says, yeah, do you know the work of Mark Passio? Do you know the work of David Icke? Do you know the work of Jordan Maxwell? Do you know the work of Michael Tessarion? Do you know the work of Gary Allen? Do you know the work Caroll Quigley put out there? Do you know the work of Manly P. Hall? And everybody goes, who the hell are any of those people? I don't care how egotistical it sounds. If you haven't come across my work by this point, you're not looking in the right places. Okay? If you haven't heard of the work of the men I just mentioned, you're not looking in the right places. You think you know, but you don't really know. It's called you've sipped at the Pierian spring. Not slipped, you have sipped. You've taken a tiny little sip like this. Here's the eternal fount of knowledge called the Pierian spring with all the knowledge in it, and you've done this. You've gone, listen, here's what happened. Yeah, I admit I don't know anything. I'm the potential candidate or initiate, right? Who's trying to learn how the world works. And you're going, I admit I don't know that much, right? So here's all the knowledge that could be available, and here's what you're doing. Oh, yeah, now I know it all. Now I got it. I'm enlightened. I know what's going on in the world. Instead of doing this, now maybe you know a thing or two. Maybe. Maybe you need 10 of these. Maybe you need 1,000. Then you'll know a thing or two. Most people do the first thing. They take a tiny little sip, and then they think they understand. And there's the old saying, a little learning is a dangerous thing. Drink deeply or taste not the Pierian spring. There, shallow draughts will intoxicate the brain, but only drinking largely will sober us again. That means you're going to be drunk with the illusion of knowledge if you take a little sip and you stop there. Again, in the Eastern tradition, this was what was called meeting the Buddha on the road to enlightenment. That means that he's a false Buddha, and you are at a level of false enlightenment. You'll meet the Buddha at the end of the path when you really are enlightened and understand what's really going on. And if you haven't come to the total conclusion that the world is operating on a satanic agenda and it is a slavery system, then you have not drunk deeply from the Pierian spring. You're drunk on the illusion of knowledge and the illusion of being awake. This is what the people who are calling themselves woke are. The woke movement. You know, it's an illusion of being awakened. True awakening, study the 20 points that I put forward in an entire seminar called Streetwise Spirituality. Streetwise spirituality. You know, not being wishy-washy or new agey or woo-woo about it. No. Getting it to a deep level of understanding and being street smart about it. That's what it means to be really truly awakened. Look at those 20 points of awakening, and then let's talk about what enlightenment is. So let's go back to the reading. I submit to you that these are the results of living in a capitalist system, and that grinds people down and denies them housing, medical care, human dignity, and a say in their government. These are the results of white supremacy pushing people to the margins, excluding them, disrespecting them, and treating their bodies as disposable. Once again, we don't have a white supremacist society. We have a satanic elitist society. We have an occultocracy. An occultocracy, meaning rule by the occult. Rule by the hidden elite. And you know what, folks? If you don't believe me, take it right from their mouth, right from their words. Go watch the interviews that I talked about in Demystifying the Occult Part 2, Satanism and the Dark Occult. An interview with Anton LaVey's former grandson. You know, I don't even know if he is not married to Zena LaVey anymore, but Nicholas Schreck was interviewed on cable access by a white supremacist, by the way, who asked him, what would the world look like if you, as Satanists, were in control of it? What would you do differently? And he said, oh, no, you quite misunderstand. We already are in control. We want the world more radically transformed into our vision of what it should be and look like. But make no mistake, we already are in control of it. We are just going to tighten and refine our control of the world. That was Nicholas Schreck's answer to Tom Metzer in that interview that I gave in that presentation. Go back and watch it again. Maybe we'll play it, you know, to show people, hey, here's how it really works. These people are all too comfortable in telling you how they operate from the shadows. So he's trying to put this saying it's to blame by capitalism and white supremacy. And these are just divide and conquer tactics, ladies and gentlemen. They're not going to teach you who's really in the realm of true elitist power. You want to learn that? Go read Tragedy and Hope by Caroll Quigley. Then you'll know who's really in power. And he says the exact same thing that I say from having been involved in it at a low. I was involved in it at a low level. Caroll Quigley was involved in it at a high level. And we both say the same exact things. It's a complex, interconnected network of people who know all of the workings of the human mind, human psychology, and know how to manipulate it. They're master manipulators of psychology. Same exact thing he says I've been saying for years. He wrote that book almost over 100 years ago, I think. Okay? And then what does he say about that it is like a cult? It is like a religious group, a secret society, however you want to look at it. And it has no name. Well, I've said it a million times here on What on Earth is Happening. It is a cult with no name. If you think they call themselves the Illuminati, you have drunk shallowly from the Pierian Spring. First of all, that word is a ridiculous word to use in relation to these psychopaths. They are not illuminates of anything. I'm a member of the Illuminati. I'm an illuminated one. And when you are enlightened, there should be no ego involved and no false hubris involved in saying that you are. I am aware of what's taking place in the world truly, from a perspective of true and complete knowledge. Okay? And I am not afraid to say that. I'm not going to tell people I don't know anything. I know quite a bit. And I've put out quite a bit of my knowledge. Okay? So Quigley was telling people, this is ultimately a secret society. He referred to it, to give it a name, as the Anglo-American Establishment. And he also referred to it as the Society of the Elect, meaning the society of the ones who are in control. They have elected themselves to those positions of power and influence, and they place point men and women in positions of great power and influence in our society. So for lack of better terms, he himself said, I'm going to call them either the Anglo-American Establishment or the Society of the Elect for the purposes of my writings. I have called them the occult controllers, the occult ruling class, the mind controllers, okay, the social engineers. I've called them the dark occult. I've called them the darkly illuminated ones, or the dark Illuminati. I've called them the cult of the black sun. I think that's, for me, the perfect name for these people, because they are dark illuminists using the sun as symbolism in a lot of their works. But it is not the true light. It is not the true light of true spirituality and enlightenment. It is the false light of the dark sun. So I like the name the Black Sun Order, the cult of the Black Sun. It doesn't matter what you call them, folks. Their methodologies matter. How they go about entrancing people and putting them under their thumb psychologically, and ultimately then own their behavior as a result of that. That matters. A name is just that. It's just a label. So don't get too hung up on names. And understand they use the dialectic of capitalism versus socialism, black versus white, Republican versus Democrat. They'll use any dialectic that serves their agenda and gets people fighting each other instead of them. They don't care what dialectics they have people fighting over. They're all too happy to provide the distraction of divide and conquer. So let's continue. I know I'm jumping in here a lot. I'm going to try to just read straight. But when he says something that's blatantly wrong, I'm going to correct it. Equally important to remember, disabled and mentally ill people are frequently killed by police officers not trained to recognize and react to disabilities and mental health crises. Some of the people we picture as, quote, violent offenders are often people struggling with unrelated mental illness, often due to economic hardships. Very frequently, the officers sent to, quote, protect the community, unquote, escalate this crisis and ultimately wound or kill the person. Your community was not made safer by police violence. A sick member of your community was killed because it was cheaper than treating them. Are you extremely confident you'll never get sick one day too? Exactly. The police do this all the time as a matter of course. So let's go back to the reading. Wrestle with this for a minute. If all of someone's material needs were met and all the members of their community were fed, clothed, housed, and dignified, would they need to join a gang? I personally agree with that. And there's no reason we cannot do that without the government or police. Why would they need to risk their lives selling drugs or breaking into buildings? If mental health care was free and was not stigmatized, how many lives would that save? Again, he gets now into socialized healthcare, which is basically conscription. You cannot demand that someone else treat somebody. That's conscription. Okay? So I don't agree with socializing anything, because you're basically giving that to the government to control and distribute, and then you're conscripting people through theft of taxation and or outright physical conscription. I don't believe in drafts or conscription for anyone. That's taking choice away from someone. If someone wants to operate privately, they should have the right to do that. You want to join a collective of people voluntarily and then do that work pro bono, you do that as free individuals as well. When the government gets involved, that's when it becomes slavery. That's why I don't believe in the government mandating anything. They don't have the right to exist, let alone mandate anything. Would there still be a few bad actors in the world? Sure, probably. What's my solution for them? You're no doubt asking. I'll tell you what. Generational poverty, food insecurity, houselessness, and for-profit medical care are all problems that can be solved in our lifetimes by rejecting the dehumanizing meat grinder of capitalism and white supremacy. Folks, it's not just capitalism or white supremacy. It's the way that the ruling elite have structured the entire society. And it's not just here. That happens in other places where there are different systems in place. The elite occult ruling class wants there to be divisions amongst the people in class status. That is what keeps people fighting amongst them and not looking at who the real enemy is. It would happen in any other form of financial structure. Okay? Ultimately, yes, we need to get away from any form of money, because we have to come up to such a level of consciousness that we understand we are all one family. Until the world is at that level of consciousness, that would not obviate or remove property. All rights are ultimately property rights. It would still mean that you would own private property, and somebody would not just have the right to just barge into your home or steal your computer or take all your books or steal your food. It means we would structure the world such that we would care that everyone's basic needs as a human being are met, and wouldn't allow a structure of finance and money to dictate who are the haves, and then other people must become the have-nots and go without basic necessities. But I don't call that capitalism. And I don't say that the solution is socialism. The solution is consciousness. The solution is not the government mandating who needs what and then deciding we're going to provide it in this way through theft, which is what taxation is, through violence, which is what policing is, and that's what taxation is. It's ultimately done through violence and the threat of violence, which is called duress. No, it would just say we need to come up to this level of consciousness, and the people have to do that. And if they don't do it, it doesn't get done. This is what people are afraid of, folks. The chaos that might break out if people are left to their own devices. Well, what's worse, people being controlled and enslaved, or people left to their own devices and there may be some chaotic stuff? Happened. I talked about it last week. It would always be preferable for even violent gangs to come out and take over society, because no one would believe that they have the right to rule them. Now we have a violent gang running society called the police, run by the politicians and ultimately by the dark occultists, but everybody believes they have the right and authority to rule them. You think that's not infinitely more dangerous? They have gotten people to covertly believe that they are the rulers of society and have the right to do this violence unto other people. And people believe this horse shit. That's an infinitely more dangerous problem. The belief in authority and then monopolizing a gang to do violence, calling themselves the police, that would be infinitely more dangerous than just having some violent street gangs take over. No one would think they have the right to rule. And then they'd step up and eventually stop them through defensive force, including deadly force, which would be their inherent right to do so. It's already our inherent right to do so. People just haven't recognized that fact. You see. You know? Continuing. Once that's done, we can work together. We can work on the edge cases together with clearer hearts not clouded by a corrupt system. Again, he makes some points about, good points about abolishing the police, but then he goes off on tangent sidetracks because he doesn't have enough knowledge. If this person understood the world of the occult and what it really does, what it really is, not what Hollywood wants to make you think that it is, what it really is, and who's really running things, he wouldn't be worried about the dialectic between capitalism and any other form of finance. And he certainly wouldn't be advocating for socialism. All right? Continuing. Police abolition is closely related to the idea of prison abolition and the entire concept of banishing the carceral state. In other words, that which does the incarceration. Meaning creating a society focused on reconciliation and restorative justice instead of punishment, pain, and suffering. A system that sees people in crisis as humans, not monsters. People who want to abolish the police typically also want to abolish prisons and get the same questions get asked. What about the bad guys? Where do we put them? I bring this up because abolitionists don't want to simply replace cops with armed social workers or prisons with casual detention centers full of puffy leather couches and PlayStations. We imagine a world not divided into good guys and bad guys, but rather a world where people's needs are met and those in crisis receive care, not dehumanization. I agree with this to a large extent. The only part I don't agree with is that there should never be punishment for bad behavior. And I think the punishment should be immediate. Where if you work yourself into a state of consciousness or a mentality or a psychology where you think you have the right somehow to harm someone else, you should be prepared to accept the negative physical consequences from other free beings. Let me just say that again unequivocally. I believe in the abolition of the police. I know it's the only moral position. I believe in the abolition of all prisons. I've said this from day one on What on Earth is Happening. I think that's the only moral position. I don't believe anybody should be kept caged. Okay? I don't think those are solutions to people who want to take other people's rights or property away. However, I do believe in vicious, immediate response to violence. Let me say that again in no unequivocal terms. And let me say this. If you think this is not a spiritual understanding and a high-level spiritually aware statement, you aren't awake. You don't understand what inherent rights are. And I'm not saying everybody has to take this approach, but I'm saying if the approach is taken, it would be well within the inherent rights of every human being. If someone accosts me on the street and starts wailing on me for no reason, I have every right to physically annihilate that person, no matter what uniform they're wearing. If somebody accosts me on the street and tries to steal my property, I have every right to physically annihilate that being, no matter what uniform they're wearing. Whether they're in plain street clothes, whether they're in the uniform of the state, or whether they're buck naked. It would not matter. Okay? People have to understand self-defense, and we need to be a society that enshrines self-defense as an inherent natural right and uses it so frequently that when it is used justly, somebody goes, good for that person. They exercise their right against a thug. And ultimately, it doesn't matter why the thug became the thug. I agree we should address all of those concerns and we should have help for people like that. But if they've moved it from the place of being fucked up in the mind so much that then their behaviors result in them accosting, taking away rights from other people, stealing property from other people. Whatever happens to them happens. Hardcore cold. I'll look at somebody right in the face and tell them that. Because they have no right to conduct violence on other people, and other people inherently have the right to defend themselves up to and including deadly force. I don't play games with people on the street if they accost me. I'm not playing games with them. Just a few months ago, right near in my neighborhood, a couple of blocks from where I'm sitting, two guys got in an argument. One guy thought he has the right to punch this other guy in the mouth, hits him in the jaw, knocks him out, falls backwards, hits the back of his skull on the occipital protuberance on the concrete, dead. Dead. Over some stupid fucking argument. Okay? You wield physical force against me without right. I'm going to take it up to, very quickly escalate it up to deadly force. Because you have no right to do so. You have no right to put another human being in a position where they could potentially die. And I do not know where the violence would stop. That's why I'm going to stop it completely. And totally. And guess what? Yes, that's your right. That is my right and yours. It doesn't matter what the government says. That's a human right. Anywhere on earth, in any that is currently being immorally ruled by any government. That's a human right. So I guess I just triggered all my European buddies and gals out there, right? You're all triggered. Because this right of self-defense has been conditioned out of you like a good little pet. Right? I'm a violent American because I just stated that that's my right. No, I understand it and you don't. That's the fact of the matter. That's the point of fact matter of reality, boys and girls. Okay? So if you're not there yet, go back in the podcast and listen from number 1 and maybe you'll get there. All right? Doesn't take anything away from the truth about what I just said. Said if you're triggered or offended by it, get as offended as you like. It's still true. Continuing. Let's move forward. Here is legendary activist and thinker Angela Y. Davis, putting it better than I ever could. An abolitionist approach that seeks to answer questions such as these would require us to imagine a constellation of alternative strategies and institutions, with the ultimate aim of removing the prison from the social and ideological landscapes of our society. I couldn't agree more. The idea of a prison is inherently immoral, and it teaches people nothing in society. It takes the people who are bad actors among us and sequesters them from us as everyday society, so that we cannot see the consequences of what our own failure to teach morality has caused in our environment. That's why I said from day one, abolish all prisons and put all of those violent people back into the society that created them and let them deal with them. Then people will start looking at causal factors in mind and in spirituality. Why do these people become this way? Why do we have so many of them? Why are they willing to act the way that they are willing to act? And it's, you know whose responsibility it is? It's all the people out in the world. It's your failure. You're responsible for it. It's your failure to teach morality to your children and to everybody else. You have failed at that task. I have done that task. I am not a failure at that task. You who have not done that are a failure at that task. And yes, there is blame to be laid. Yes, there is such a thing as blame. Yes, there is moral culpability, and yes, there are people to blame for that failure. And most of the people out there, even the people who listen to this show on a weekly basis, you are the one who failed at that task. I don't care about ratings. I'm here to hit you with hard truth. And that's the hard truth of the matter. I don't care if you get offended and shut the show off and never listen to an episode again. Not my problem. I'm fulfilling my dharmic work, and that's your karma that you've taken and done nothing with. And you will be held accountable. In other words, we should not be looking for prison-like substitutes for the prison, such as house arrest safeguarded by electronic surveillance bracelets. Rather, positing decarceration as our overarching strategy, we would try to envision a continuum of alternatives to imprisonment demilitarization of schools. She should have a comma there instead of a dash. I'll fix that. Revitalizing the education, revitalization of education at all levels, a health system that provides free physical and mental care to all. Again, that's where I would diverge in that, because if it's voluntary, fine, but you cannot conscript people to provide health care. You cannot tell them, and how they want to work it is steal from everybody and make the government pay for those services. That's theft. That's immoral. All socialization of healthcare is immoral. You cannot conscript doctors, and you cannot keep people in duress through taxation. Either people get it done voluntarily or it doesn't get done. That's the level of consciousness you have to get to. If people don't pave the road doesn't get paved. If food isn't grown, food doesn't get grown. If we don't teach people morality, they grow up into bad people. That's it. All the failure has to be placed squarely upon the individual and the community for not doing those things. If you don't take your trash out of your environment, you have a filthy environment. If you don't clean your house, you got a filthy house. If you don't clean your dinner plate, you eat off a dirty dinner plate the next night. Take personal responsibility for what needs to be done and do it. Don't say we need to have free this and that and that. No, what you're saying is steal from everybody and or conscript doctors. Let's be honest, that's the violence that you're talking about enacting. It's not a right. It's not a right. I don't want to make the show about that, but they hammer this in this article, and I'm going to point out where things are false or immoral. They don't have all the answers. They've drunk shallowly from the Pierian Spring. Whoever wrote this, if you can prove you wrote this, get in touch with me. I'll help you get mentored into total enlightenment. Okay? And yeah, I can make that claim with no false hubris. I'll mentor you through my material into getting completely awake so that you understand what rights are. This is still written from a perspective of someone that doesn't know the definition of a right and has some solutions correct, and then some solutions that they envision would require duress and violence and would not be voluntary. So I'm going to point that out. Continuing. Mental health care to all, a justice system based on reparation and reconciliation rather than retribution and vengeance. I'm not telling you I have the blueprint for a beautiful new world. What I'm telling you is that the system we have right now is broken beyond repair, and that it's time to consider new ways of doing community together. I fully agree with that statement. Those new ways need to be negotiated by members of those communities, particularly Black, Indigenous, disabled, houseless, citizens of color historically shoved into the margins of society. Instead of letting Fox News fill your head with nightmares about Hispanic gangs and the Hispanic community, ask the Hispanic community what they need to thrive. Instead of letting racist politicians scaremonger about pro-Black demonstrators, ask the Black community what they need to meet the needs of the most vulnerable. If you truly desire safety, ask not what your most vulnerable can do for the community, ask what the community can do for the most vulnerable. A world with fewer bastards is possible. If you take only one thing away from this essay, I hope it's this: do not talk to cops. But if you take only two things away, I hope the second one is that it is possible to imagine a different world where unarmed Black people, Indigenous people, poor people, disabled people, and people of color are not routinely gunned down by unaccountable police officers. And let me tell you something, folks. I agree with that, but it is not the totality of what's going on with the police. This is not about race. Yes, races of non-white people are actually more likely to be harmed or killed in a police interaction, but it's not just them. White people are killed by police just as violently as Black people, Indigenous people. It does not matter. This is not a matter of race and never has been. This is a matter of the belief in authority. Let me say that unequivocally again for those who are a little slow on the uptake. It's not a matter of race. It's a matter of the belief in authority. So you go out and ask all of those protesters out there protesting the George Floyd incident, do you think all government should be abolished? Or do you think these people actually have the moral right to exist and organize society in the way they organize it? I guarantee you every one of them, almost bar none, with the exception of a tiny percentile, maybe 1 or 2%, are going to say, oh no, we are not suggesting getting rid of all government. We still want to have government, but we want to be the ones with the reins of power of government in our hands. We want it to work for our needs, right? They don't want to abolish government. They want to restructure policing and government into something that is akin to what they want in their mindset. And I don't care what color you are, that makes you immoral. That makes you a supporter of duress and slavery. Doesn't matter what color you are. I don't care if white people advocate for that. I don't care if black people advocate for that. I don't care if Asian people. I don't care if indigenous Americans. I don't care if South Americans, any Latino people advocate for that. It matters not. Okay? It's still immoral. It's still an immoral position. You are condoning violence and slavery, which makes you a bad person if you condone it. Go all the way to enlightenment. Don't stop halfway or a quarter of the way. Understand that government is slavery and always has been slavery. They diffuse the authority from a king or ruler or a representative of God on earth to, we're just going to have an oligarchical ruling class. It's just a few people, but they're called government and they have authority, just like the king or the pharaoh had authority in the ancient world. It's no new different. The New World Order is the Old World Order with different labels. That's all it is. Different euphemized labels. We're going to euphemize this, give it a nice little euphemistic label, put that euphemism out there for the dumb public to buy into, and repeat it over and over and over again. And then the public grasps onto it and says, oh yeah, this is completely different. No, it's the same shit on a platter. They just put a little sprig of parsley next to the big glop of shit. That's all that happened, folks. They dressed it up and you swallowed it. All right? That's what happened. It doesn't have to be this way. Yes, it requires a leap of faith into community models that might feel uncomfortable, but I ask you, when you see a man dying in the street begging for breath, don't you want to help? Don't you want to leap away from that world? When you see a mother or daughter shot to death, sleeping in their beds, don't you want to leap away from that world? When you see a 12-year-old boy executed in a public park for the crime of playing with a toy, Jesus fucking Christ, how can you really just stand there and think this is normal? And to any cops who made it this far down, is this really the world you want to live in? Aren't you tired of the trauma? Aren't you tired of the soul sickness inherent to the badge? Let me tell you something. They become more soul sick than all the people who are traumatized and victimized by violence out there in society. That's why they're largely brain dead and soul dead, these cops. That's why you guys are so brain damaged and soul damaged. That's why you can't think clearly. That's why you're not smart people. I don't care what your IQ is. You're not holistically intelligent. Most cops are dumb. Most cops are dumb people. I don't care what you could even do on a math test. That doesn't make you truly smart or truly intelligent. You're not holistically intelligent. You can't envision what true solutions would be from a causal factor perspective. That's why you don't have total heuristic, big picture thinking. You're locked into the left brain of action only. You can't see the solutions. You have no imagination. That's largely right brain capacity. You're not intelligent. You're not nearly as intelligent as you think you are. You're actually quite dumb. And I'll say it right to your face. You are not holistically intelligent people, regardless of what you can score on an IQ test. That is an intellect quotient, not an intelligence quotient. I have a very high intellect as well. I have a 147 intellect quotient. That's genius level. So what? So fucking what? You think that matters? But guess what? If you came up with something that could truly gauge holistic intelligence, I would score just as high because I'm holistically intelligent. I'm not just intellectually intelligent. And most cops, you are absolute, complete, inept, backwards, dumb people when it comes to holistic intelligence. And get as offended about it as you like. It's true. It's true no matter what you say. And guess what? So are most of the people coming up with so-called solutions. You're not holistically intelligent because you haven't taken in enough information to change your brain into truly firing in both hemispheres equally to make yourself holistically intelligent. And I'm not here to take you by the hand and pander to your delicate sensibilities about it. That was the Mark Passio on show number 1. That's what I was doing then. And I've said it before, folks, and I'm going to say it again. That guy is gone. That was a persona. I was acting in the capacity of putting out a nicer persona than my real personality, which is very abrasive, for the purpose of getting people to listen to go into the deeper episodes. Now, there's no more chewing your baby food before I spoon feed it to you. It's not happening. We're in war. This is war now. We are at war. If you haven't recognized that what's going on around us in our society is war, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to tell you. And if you think that the time is now to baby spoon potential soldiers in an information war, you're nuts. We are in the trenches being bombarded and have to shoot back at the enemy and put this information out there. And I did it. That way I baby spoon fed it to people through like 150 fucking episodes, and I'm not doing it anymore. At least that long, maybe longer. That persona is over. All right? Don't expect it to ever come back. If at this point you're that emotionally charged about it, you don't belong even listening through the rest of these, however many future episodes there happen to be. Buck up, reel yourself in, and understand you're no longer a child that needs to react emotionally. You're at war. You're a soldier in combat now. Whether you're ready for it or not, take that approach to life in general. Because that's what life on Earth has become. To any cops who made it this far down, okay, let's see. Are you tired of the trauma? Aren't you tired of the soul sickness inherent to the badge? Aren't you tired of looking the other way when your partners break the law? Are you really willing to kill the next George Floyd, the next Breonna Taylor, the next Tamir Rice? How confident are you that your next use of force will be something you're proud of? I'm writing this for you too. It's wrong that what our training did to us. Yeah, it's called the techniques of cults, which I covered last week. It's wrong that they hardened our hearts to our communities, and it's wrong to pretend this is normal. No, that's what has made you immoral pieces of trash. That's why you're immoral trash as police officers. It's to even believe that policing should be done makes someone an immoral piece of trash, that you can't envision that it be done a different way. And no, it is not different than an individual defending themselves. If they only did that when violence occurred, I would say, hey, then they're just acting in the capacity that any other person individual who has these rights. No, they are so-called delegated special rights that other people don't have. And then they get qualified immunity for doing that violence and duress to the public. And they can't be held accountable as individuals. Once again, the reason government and policing cannot exist morally, from a moral philosophical framework, groundwork, perspective, is because no individual can be delegated rights that do not exist for any other individual, for all other individuals. Either you have a right by nature, and it's the same for everyone, and if you do not have a right, you cannot grant that behavior and tell someone else you can do that behavior with impunity. It is axiomatically flawed to think that you can. It is axiomatically, meaning from a foundational standpoint when it comes to philosophy and morality, you cannot delegate a right to anyone else that does not exist for an individual. That's an axiomatic flaw, meaning you are flawed at your foundation, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And you started building and building and building, and now you have a structure that is not really truly structurally sound. That's what we've built in the world because we have our axiomatic principles completely out of alignment. They're not in harmony with natural law. They're not in harmony with true morality. And then other people think it's just fine, and they think somehow they know a little bit about what's going on in the world when they're actually dunces who haven't looked at the available knowledge. And then they think they know, and they're going to dictate to everybody else. Back to the reading. Look, I wouldn't have been able to hear any of this for much of my life. You reading this now may not be able to hear this yet either. I find the same thing with what on earth is happening. People cannot hear this. They cannot hear what I say. Does not matter. True nonetheless. Not because I said so or because it's my opinion. No, has nothing to do with that. There is objective and absolute truth in nature. And it is our goal as human beings to gather that knowledge, take it into ourselves, and bring our perception into alignment with natural truth. Most people's ego is too big and out of control, and therefore they cannot hear it, and they cannot bring their behavior, their mental processes, and their behavior into alignment with objective truth in nature. The problem has absolutely nothing to do with me as I teach it. The problem has everything to do with others' ego being too inflated and too in the way to receive it. That is why they cannot hear much of what I say. I've had people say, Mark, my ego was so hardened and crystallized, I listened to shows from you and I could not hear them. I had to stop. Experiences had to happen to me in my life. Other knowledge had to come to me in different ways. Finally, I could go back and listen, and then I could hear what you had to say, and you were 100% correct. And generally, the only thing I say to them is, yes, I know that this is how it works. Keep going. Don't stop where you're at. So, continuing with the reading. But do me this one favor. Just think about it. Just turn it over in your mind for a couple of minutes. Yes, and me for a minute. So do the yes, and process for a minute. Look around you and think about the kind of world you want to live in. Is it one where an all-powerful stranger with a gun keeps you and your neighbors in line with the fear of death? Or can you picture a world where, as a community, we embrace our most vulnerable, meet their needs, heal their wounds, honor their dignity, and make them family instead of desperate outsiders? Yeah, exactly. That's why policing shouldn't exist at all. That's why government shouldn't exist at all. You know, he stopped short of saying that all government should be abolished. You know, let's see what the person who wrote this thinks about government's existence, not just the police's existence. Okay? If you take only 3 things away from this essay, I hope the third is this. You and your community don't need bastards to thrive. Amen. Amen. Okay? So I agree with about 90% of what this gentleman who wrote this said about it. And then there's 10% I think he has to get clear by going deeper into the world of the occult and the real manipulation game that's being played. I would bet dollars to donuts, ladies and gentlemen, that the individual who wrote this essay knows exactly zero about the world of the occult. I can tell it in his words. He's not an occultist. He's not a studier or a student of the occult world. He's looking at this purely from a 3-dimensional point of view and not from a higher level of moral philosophy. He's got a lot of it on instinct, and I very much congratulate him for that. Okay? That's great. If people can work it out in their own minds to this level, but look at his experience. Look at what he saw, right? He had to go through that dark netherworld himself, like I had to go through the dark netherworld of the dark occult myself, or I may not understand how this world works. I may be one of these hard-headed fucks with an out-of-control ego that still doesn't want to understand that the world is run by psychopaths and sick religionists with a very ancient and secret religion that they adhere to and they believe in fervently. Most people will reject that idea out of hand and say, oh, you're a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist. No, you don't know what I've lived through. You don't know what my personal experiences have been. I've seen it with my own eyes in person. And you weren't there. All the people saying, well, it doesn't work like this. You weren't fucking there, and I was. Okay? Let's get that perfectly straight, first and foremost. You're not going to tell me what my life experiences have been. And I'm going to repeat that over and over again. Because I still have hard-headed, egotistical fucks telling me I haven't actually lived the experiences that I've lived. Fuck you. You weren't there. Or you'd know what I know. That's how it really works, boy and girl. All right? You want to play ego games with me and tell me the things that happened in my life didn't happen to me? No, I'm not playing that game. You ain't playing that game with this one. Not with this one. You want to try to gaslight some other motherfucker, go ahead. You're not playing that game with this one. I know what my experiences have been and what they meant. All right? So don't tell me where the fuck I've been or what I know about my life experience. You want to disagree on a principle, tell me why, and I'll respect you enough to listen to it. But you're not going to tell me I haven't been around the people I've been around and the things that happened in my life didn't happen. That's where I'll get ready to fucking throw down and break natural law. Okay? Because that's blatant disrespect to another human being's life experience. And you're not doing that to me. Not after what I've been through. Not after the trauma that I've been through and it caused me depression for years. Years. With my face down in a pillow, crying into a pillow, listening to doom metal. After what I allowed myself to become and to go through and participate in. You don't know what my experiences were, boy. You're not going to dictate what they are to me. So that's the conclusion of the reading of Confessions of a Former Bastard Cop with my commentary on top of it. And my statement is, congratulations for working it out in your mind to this extent, but you still have a way to go. And if you want to come on the show, I would be willing to interview you, even if you want to do that under an assumed name. But I would also say you have a lot more to go in your understanding of how the world is structured and who runs these organizations really. It wasn't your commissioner. It wasn't your chief of police. When you look back into the deep corridors of power, you're going to find Satanists there. You're going to find religionists there. And I don't mean religionists from the ostensible cultural perspective of religion, like priests and, imams and, Jewish rabbis. Okay? I'm talking about Satanists. You're going to come into the satanic clergy who's really operating in the deep corridors of power of the deep state and beyond. They have a religion and it's called Satanism and Dark Luciferianism. And if you don't know about it, you need to study up. And you should start with my Demystifying the Occult series, both of them. Demystifying the Occult Part 1 and Part 2. And then you'll understand some of their mentality. Some of it. So, I think that's a great place to go into calls for the rest of the show. So, folks, as always, we take calls through Discord, okay? I only want questions and comments about the last series of What on Earth is Happening shows of the psychological state of police and their supporters. Let's keep it to this topic for the purpose of this show, okay? So if you have questions, comments, or you need clarification on any topics that were covered in the series called The Psychological State of Police and Their Supporters, that is what we are going to take questions on. Questions are through our Discord server, and you can go to whatonearthishappening.com/Discord to get into that server, and then you have to click into the call room. Read the instructions, okay? And, you can then join us in the call room on the server. All right, so I'm going to go into the call room, and I'm going to unmute my mic. My mic is already unmuted. Good. And get my headset on, because I do need a headset to monitor what's going on inside the Discord server. So, All right, let's go to Corey. Corey, you are our first caller for today. Welcome to What on Earth is Happening.
Hi, Mark.
Hey.
How's it going?
Not bad. Yourself?
Not bad. Man, you get me riled up. I'm pretty sure you probably get a lot of people riled up here. It's intense world that we live in, isn't it?
It is. And we have very calcified people out there that think they're right when they're not correct. And they don't want to hear it like that because their ego is in the way. And I am here to say it like that to those who may be able to hear it. But I am mostly here not to talk to the total golem who is so rigid in their belief structure, even though it's false, that they'll take the one ring and clasp it to their heart in their dying throes as they fall into the fire of Mount Doom, to give a Lord of the Rings analogy. That they want that power and control so much, and they want their belief, their hardened, calcified belief so deeply that they will take their religion into their very own doom. I'm not really necessarily talking to those people. I know many of them may die in that condition. I am talking to the people who, unlike myself, will take the job of trying to talk to the total golem and maybe show them some care, help to de-traumatize them, etc. That's not my role. That's not my role here on What on Earth is Happening, and it never has been since day one. I have always been trying to create other teachers of this work from people who are already part of the way there. I think it's very ill understood. It's not understood by most people. You know, most people think I'm doing that other work that I am asking them to help do. I am trying to teach the potential teachers. They can go and do that soft work. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to present hardcore, indisputable, eternal truths of nature, whether anyone is ready to hear them or not, in the hopes to get some of the potential teachers who are ready to hear them active. That's always been my goal and always will be. So sorry for that long explanation there, but go ahead and continue.
No, it's perfect. Thank you. I mean, you're totally right. And we live in a left brain dominant society, so maybe you'll get some of the doctors and scientists on board. And that's, you know, more along the lines of thinking where I was, because I was into the whole health thing before I found you. So, I mean, having that understanding perhaps of the holistic mentality about healing in Eastern medicine is a part of this greater picture.
So you came to this, you approached this whole field of understanding through health.
Yeah.
See, that was, I think it's great when people do it like that personally. I like to hear that because I think part of it is you have to get your brain in a state where you're giving it healthy things, giving it healthy nutrition and the things that it needs to even come to a higher level of being able to reason and study things. You know, and I didn't have that. That was one of my last things. And I saw all of the darkness, all of the control aspect, all of the dark occult things first, and I got health last. I didn't realize they were using food and water and air as a poisoning methodology. It was one of the last things that fell into the puzzle for me. If that would have come in first, as it did for you, I probably could have gotten to this work a lot faster.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess, you know, people like make a big deal out of my age. Like, so what? I'm 19. Like, just because I'm this age doesn't mean anything.
Absolutely. It's meaningless. Age is meaningless. There could be wise people at 17 years of age, and there could be total fools at 95 years of age.
Exactly. And I want you to be honest with me, too, about all the things that I'm doing, because I know that perhaps you came across my work earlier. And I don't mind it if you just tell me right to my face, because that's what I'm looking for. See, I don't have necessarily right now the community who can be upfront with me and tell me what is it that's on their mind. What is it that I may be doing that could use improvement? Like, I'm always looking for improvement. I'm a Leo, so maybe I'm a little bit more along the lines of left brain dominance sometimes, especially being in that sign.
Well, I'm a Leo, and I don't necessarily think it means that, but we're very hard on ourselves. We often demand perfection of others, you know, and you know, sometimes we have to take a step back from that, allow ourselves to make mistakes, allow others to make mistakes without like crucifying them, you know. And it's like Leos are perfectionists almost by, you know, our inherent qualities to some extent. I do place a little bit of, you know, belief that there is a influence through our sun sign. I don't think it's the be all and end all or determines anything. We can always work to change, certain aspects and personality characteristics. But I think there's a little bit of influence there, and I've seen that in other Leos as well. And that's why we can be hard on ourselves, and sometimes we can be difficult to work with around others sometimes. So are you the individual who sent me some of the links to your work earlier on with you sent it via email? Yeah, I got a chance to look at some of that, and I think you're doing some good work out there. I think anybody doing something that pushes these moral principles forward and helps people to understand them better is doing great work out there. Any bit toward accomplishing the great work is something that wasn't there previously and adds to the effort and helps us inch forward to that goal. So I thank you for taking the initiative to put anything out there online publicly. That in itself takes work, takes some study and understanding of how the internet works, and takes some courage to put that out there, yourself, speaking to other people like that publicly.
I mean, I will admit, like, I'm doing kind of what you were doing. It's days on end, nights and day.
That's right.
I'm doing plenty of writings, not just working on my health book, which I think can help tie the health individuals into this field. So I have a lot of plans around bringing perhaps the doctors and scientists into this, because they already have a deeper understanding of the world, and you are very good at penetrating that left brain because you're very hardcore right on the facts, to where you can give it in detail to them, because that's what they tend to look for, and right to the point. So I thank you for that, and you deserve a thank you for that. I do want to mention that I look on comments for YouTube videos all the time. I see, all these people making content, and I see the comments, right? You ever look at them? It's like people are saying, we need change, we need unity.
And what are they doing?
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, well, of course we need change. Of course we need unity. But how about you be the change?
Right, that's right. It's funny. I got it flipped around on me one time. A stranger who really didn't know that much about me. When I started having a conversation with them about some of these things, and I was saying all these dark things that are taking place and, giving a little bit out about what's happening, they actually turned to me and said, oh, you seem to know a lot about that, but what have you been doing about it? They didn't even know my name. This is how much people just assume that everybody's just like them. Well, if they weren't doing anything, I obviously, I'm not doing anything either, And I just smiled and walked away, just comically, just chuckling about it. Imagine someone who doesn't know who I am, right? And then said something like that to me,
And I want to say another thing too, is we shouldn't be afraid to expand past our boundaries. We don't want to create an echo chamber here where it's only just these beliefs and us just talking to one another. I think we have to really seek out there, and perhaps what I'm starting up, I think, is one of our last hopes potentially, because I don't know where this world is going in just a couple of days. They have things so firmly grasped, they're so confident, this agenda of theirs, that perhaps it doesn't even matter what we do on this scale, which is what makes us so angry, which is what makes us actually want to do more. And so I find myself pushing myself crazily.
That's definitely a Leo trait for sure. But, don't burn yourself out. I've burned myself out a couple times and then had to take a break, and then other traumatic situations have occurred where I've had to step away from this work and then come back to it. Slow and steady does win this race as long as more people continue to do it. We need to add to the force, to the effort, If we're going to move a big weight, you got to add to the actual work effort, Well,
that's another thing, is your work is timeless.
It'll always be up there.
On the internet.
It'll always be up there. It can be copied. It can be distributed. It can be put on, distributed network platforms like BitTorrent or Library. Okay, and it'll be up there. And it's never going to be dated. As you said, this is timeless philosophy, so it will not be dated. Corey, you reminded me about one thing. I'm going to tell a little anecdote about what the higher level people in the occult think about the police, and that will kind of tie in with this whole series. I'm going to have some artwork drawn by an artist to really depict really well what this scene looked like. But you reminded me about that. But before I let you go, I want you to be able to tell people where your work is at online. And here's what I just have to say about it. He's putting his work out there, folks. He's putting it out there publicly for people to look at. And again, if he puts out this philosophy out there, it is also timeless. And it's up there, and it does the work on its own of teaching people. The information's out there. If you talk to someone one-on-one, Yeah, fine, that's great, wonderful. But guess what? That conversation's gone forever. Once you walk away from that person, the conversation's gone. If you want to truly archive material that can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 and a quarter days a year, you have to put it online. You have to formalize it and put it online. So this is what Corey has done with some of his aspect of the great work. Corey, go ahead and tell them where they can find your work.
Yeah, so you can go to the website, www.nita.one, that's nita.one, but my YouTube channel and Brighteon, and BitChute, they're Corey, Nature is the Answer, because that's what it stands for. And for the record, yeah, when you need downtime, perhaps just go outside in nature. Start using more of that right brain to heal yourself in this left brain world that obligates us to take more action and sometimes burn ourselves out, like you mentioned.
Right.
So I think it's really important that we do keep ourselves in check. For ourselves is what's going to change the world. We're not pointing the fingers at other people. We're going to change ourselves.
That's right.
And for the record, I'm starting a campaign today. I'll be releasing a video about how independent media, or anybody who's listening to this, or anybody who has, articles, videos, even content creators themselves, can spread this word and could get this going in circulation. If we have natural law in circulation, a lot of this stuff naturally disintegrates. This is not a process where you have to take arms to the state and God is going to come down to the earth and he's going to free all the people. Like, okay, well,
that is the solution. The solution is understanding objective morality from a deep perspective.
It is God's law.
Aligning our behavior to it. That's it. And people will say, I don't give solutions. The entire show is the solution, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. You know the self, you know the enemy, and you know the law. That's it. Mm-hmm. And you'll win all your battles. Unfortunately, most people don't know any of that stuff,
Sorry, just to finalize real quick. It's not about me. I want to make that very clear, and I make that super clear, and I've created a lot more videos since the last time I came on here. And I'm willing to talk to people after the show, too, if they want. But because it's just necessary to have this communication. So I know they open up the voice channel.
That's what it's all about, and then getting more people to actually learn the communication and publishing tools on computers. This is where we propagate this work out to the world. You got to do it online. Okay, that's how you get the bulk of your material out there. And once people learn that technology, they'll be able to do it for themselves. That's what I'm teaching with how to become the true media. I'm sure you have some, expertise and understanding in doing that in just the short time that you've been doing this. But you can help pass those skill sets along. That's what Richard in Tragedy and Hope and Autonomy is doing. That's what this is all about, folks. It's about learning it. It's about teaching it. And it's about how to help teach others to teach it. How to not only get them to understand it, but how to help them to teach it as well. See, we have to become teachers who inspire other teachers. That's really when you're doing the great work. Okay? Corey, thank you so much. I really applaud your efforts, and that is what it is all about, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So, let's... again, his website is nita.one, Nita.one. That stands for Nature is the Answer. Okay. Let's go to Gavin. Gavin, you are live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome.
Hello, Mark. Am I coming through loud and clear?
Yes, you are.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for taking my call. It's Gavin from Utah, by the way. Just real quick, I just like to give an applause to Corey. Holy cow, I was surprised to hear that he was 19 and I've gone through his work and just hearing, just seeing and hearing the amount of work he's put out. And it's just,
and just to speak to that briefly, folks, it's never too young to start, and it's never too old to start. Never too young to start, never too old to start. All you have to have is the drive and the initiative to do the work. That's it. So we have some people taking the True Media Seminar that are somewhat older. Fine. That's great. It's never too old to learn how to do something new. You can teach old dogs new tricks. Okay? Don't buy into that old adage. Never too late to start this. Okay? So go ahead. I just wanted to say that.
And to kind of echo what Corey was saying too about you yourself, Mark, putting people in this sort of drive mind state to just go full speed ahead, and hearing you and just hearing Corey a moment ago, it's like, wow, the opportunity is endless. So I'm definitely gonna start just getting in my headspace and just doing what I can with the skill set that I have.
Right. And that's all anybody can do. You have to start where you're at, and then you build on your skill sets as you go. You even build on your delivery as you go. You build on your, courage as you go. You build on your comfort level in doing it as you go. All of those things. I didn't have all the knowledge, skill sets, and, comfort level and courage that when I first started. You go back and listen to some of the first episodes. I don't think I did a bad job, but, I was a little bit less sure of myself. I didn't have all the experience under my belt that I do now, but I forged forward. It's about keep moving forward. Don't back up. Keep moving the work forward. Don't let them have the world. Too many people are just today saying, I give up, let them have the world. There can't be any worse of an approach than that. Fight till the end, even if it's going to be our end, but don't give up. That's why I end the show every week with never say die. Sometimes I feel like giving up, but I don't actually do it. I get discouraged. I get annoyed. I get aggravated. I hear, some of, people who I consider total idiots spouting nonsense out of their mouth that they don't know about. And it makes me angry or discourages me. And it isn't to say just totally ignore those people. You got to put your finger on the pulse of consciousness in the world. And you got to say, hey, if practically everybody I hear is out there on social media saying nonsense, this is where the world is at. It's a gauging process. You don't just ignore that. Too many people say, oh, never look at that. Just ignore it. No, you have to understand what your work is to do so you can do it. And it means revisiting that and saying, hey, let me take a look at a forum from time to time and see if anything changed. Are there more people in there saying we need not only abolish the police, but government is immoral, it's slavery, and we need to abolish it? Then you go on forums and you see, hey, has anybody gotten it? Is anybody teaching it? Is anybody, have a deep understanding of it? And you know what I see when I keep going and revisiting? Nothing has changed. It's tiny little sliver has been moved forward in real understanding. Oh, we got a lot more people that understand, hey, we're living in a violent world. Oh, there's a problem. Oh, a lot of people don't have food, clothing, shelter. Oh, these wars are wars of aggression. Oh, the police are out of control. What's the difference if you understand the problem? If you don't understand the causal factors and you can get to the solution, which is natural law. If you don't understand that objective morality of nature, of the creator, you understand zero aspect of what is going on this planet. Zero. So you can look at all of the negative things that are happening, and that's just further, more detailed descriptions of the prison. Oh, wait, this room is my prison? Oh, well, let's explore. We could explore the lens in these glasses. We could explore the rim of this glass and go down with a microscope and explore every detail of the prison. Is that getting me out? Will that get us out? No. All that will do is refine what you understand about the problem. It doesn't mean you understand the solution, which lies in understanding the causal factors of the problem. And when you tell people the causal factors of the problem rely nowhere in the 3D domain, they rely in the causal realm of thought, and that you must change what you believe about what is true, and stop believing in things that are not true, and stop refusing to accept things that are true, and those are discoverable. See, that's why the first thing I started with on What on Earth is Happening is the biggest poison pill that you could ever swallow is solipsism. We can go back to episode number 1 where I was talking about how dangerous the ideology or religion called solipsism is. The belief that there is only opinion and perception and there is no objective truth or facts. I mean, if you believe that, you never go in search of what the truth is about what's happening within yourself or external to yourself. And you're sunk from the beginning. It's a total sabotage from the very beginning, solipsism. That's why I called it the biggest lie. But guess what? This is where most people are at today. They've been conditioned by the social engineers to say, my emotions matter more than facts. And if this hurts my feelings, then I don't accept it as being true. You reason like that, that's solipsism. That's not reason at all. That's a religion. It's a belief system that we have to purge from the human mind. And you tell people that, and they want to do harm to you. You're telling them the solution can never lie in something like solipsism or the belief in authority, and that the mind has to be changed before the external world could change in any way. And they'll get angry at you for telling them they have to change the way they think when their thinking is the actual cause of the problem that we are experiencing, and they don't yet understand that. You know, that's what we have to start teaching people as a group of people who claims that we understand this information. And again, in order to do that and to get it out there, if you're going to bang your head against the wall forever if you think you're going to do that one-to-one as an individual. Again, I've given the example. I did that with my mother, okay? And she's never going to watch anything unless I force her to, okay? I got her up to the point where she says, you're correct. It's a worldwide control system. They want control. They're control freaks. And I don't question that anymore because I've seen it enough with my own eyes. Right? She gets to that point. You went into all the details about food, drugs, different secret societies, different think tanks, how the world is ultimately controlled. She wouldn't know any of those details. If I said, explain to me the philosophy of solipsism or the ideology of solipsism, wouldn't be able to do it. Tell me some of the tenets of Satanism because these are really the rulers of the world and we have to know their mindset. Otherwise, we can't really know the enemy and make any progress against them. She wouldn't be able to do that, right? So the details aren't there. But in like 15 years, let's say, of constant hammering on one human soul and mind, boom, boom, hammering on it relentlessly, nonstop, for 15 years, I got one human being through my voice in person, in-person conversation. I moved one human being that far, right? Which is nothing. Nothing. I only did it because she's my mother and I care about her soul. That's why I spent the time doing that. I wouldn't do that for a stranger. That's why I do this. I put the work out there publicly. When someone finds it, they could pass it on to someone else. They could watch it or not watch it. And you will understand if you take it all in. If you don't take it all in, you're going to have a halfway understanding at best or no understanding. And guess what? I have fulfilled my duty and obligation morally to put the word out there to the world this way, through technology. That's why all the Luddites out there, meaning people who are afraid of technology and don't want to use it, right? You don't understand. It's a neutral tool. A neutral tool. Is a book good or evil? Well, a book is a piece of technology. What's in the book can be good or evil, depending on how it influences other people's minds and behaviors. Technology is a tool. When a computer comes to you, it doesn't have any other information in it. You could put what you want in it and you could distribute that information. That's what communications and publishing technology are. The problem is we don't understand the importance of the tools that we have in our hand. We have guided nuclear bombs in our hand that we could use in this war. And you know what we're doing? We're playing, garbage video games. Right? It's like McAfee, I forget his full name, said at the Anarchadelphia conference. He said in his video, he said, cryptocurrency is invincibility and a battle rifle that never runs out of ammunition. That you can never die and you have a perfect battle rifle that never runs out of ammo. That's what really cryptocurrency is if you want to truly use it to take down the control system as far as the financial aspects of it are concerned. And he said, you know how all of you guys are using it? Like a little toy, like a little child's toy. And I agree. And it's the same thing when it comes to technology, any technology. We have the potential to become powerful teachers of natural law and what's really taking place in our world. And you know what most people are doing? They're on Facebook playing some stupid game, or on their phone playing their slab. I'm not even going to call it a phone anymore. It's the slab. That's the new name for the smartphone. Do you have your slab handy? Because that's all it is. It's not a creative tool. It was part of one of the first things I talked about in how to become the true media. If you think you're going to put out any publishing, true good publishing to the world on a tablet or smartphone, you don't understand the work that's involved. Those aren't real computers. Those are slabs, okay? And that's how I view them. So I just wanted to say that regarding technology. And if you're thinking about moving forward into this work, I commend you for getting that far and understanding that it's about taking action. So if you have anything else, Gavin.
Yes, first of all, just amazing insight that you just brought there. One last thing I would just like to say. So most of my family are solipsistic order followers or supporters of order followers.
Wow, I'm
like
sorry.
Hardcore, deeply rooted solipsism, and always bringing into conversations perception is reality. You know,
Wow.
well, but those aren't my facts. Those aren't
Wow.
my truth.
Wow.
So
Yeah, they're
kind of the wall I'm up against.
they're pretty much gone. I mean, that would take a lot of hard work upon the psyche and soul to remove that. I would assume many of them are atheists.
I mean, de facto atheists.
Mm-hmm.
They're so-called Catholics or Christians,
Right.
Obviously,
But they've
indeed,
bought the idea that there is no objective truth in
from what it
nature,
seems,
in the universe. That is something that most of the mystery traditions of consciousness throughout all of human history and time would have referred to as the unteachable. They would have not wasted their words on them. The only thing I would say is if you can pinpoint a maven, a person with influence with the rest of them, you might want to try to work on the maven in that group setting, because then they might be influencers for the rest of them and help to decalcify their ego, because a lot of times people will only listen to the maven, and I'm almost certain you're not it when it comes to your family members.
Yeah.
I would bet anything. And if you can identify that there is a clear maven of the family, you might want to do what I call maven target, and target the maven, work on them. That's why I chose my mother. Not only was she my mother, she was the maven or matriarch of my family. Okay? Both. The matriarch and maven. Since my grandmother died, who people would consider the existing woman influencer, female influencer of the family, when she passed away, that role sort of organically fell to my own mother in my family dynamic. That is why I focus so hard on her. I already understood how this psychological dynamic worked when it comes to helping wake other people up. And I've really focused on her as an individual. And now we're seeing the very, very, very beginnings of the planting of those seeds, of its spouting some growth and possibly influencing some other people in the family. We'll see how it goes. But guess what? If I didn't do that hardcore work in the beginning of planting all those seeds and forcing her to watch certain things, it wouldn't have been in her mind when all of this stuff with the coronavirus nonsense went on. And then she wouldn't be waking up during this process. She'd be one of these hard-headed people that is doubling and tripling down. So that's how it works. You have to pick somebody, go to work on them locally, and hope that it bears fruit in the future.
Definitely, Mark. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate the information. I'll definitely try and focus on the maven targeting and hopefully, get involved in the great work. So I appreciate your time having me on here.
Gavin,
take some more calls. Thank you, Mark.
Absolutely. Gavin, thank you so much. Great call, great insights. I appreciate it. Let's go to Ivan from Phoenix. Ivan, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome.
Can you hear me today?
Yes, I can. You're in.
Yay.
It's been a while,
You got it
brother.
fixed then.
Good to talk with you.
Yeah, same here. And speaking that it's been a while, my condolences and love
Thank
and
you.
support to you.
Thank
Mark.
you. It's still, it's still affecting me greatly, and I'm just powering through it and getting back to the work. So that's how I'm handling it.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. I think about her and I shed some tears time.
Sure.
Because all the times I've seen you, it's kibbles and bits,
Yep.
like Tom and Jerry,
Absolutely.
one without the other. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so when I think of you, obviously, she comes to mind. So, but yeah, I'm sure she's proud of, you really turned it up quite a few notches.
Right.
And in this time, this is how we need it. No
That's
more
right.
of the baby spoon feeding.
That's
So,
right.
And even my mindset, I still work on myself, thoughts, emotions, and actions, but my thoughts are there of this, we're at a point, like you said, World War III, we are living in World War III right now. It's not, tanks and guns and nations.
That's right.
This is the system against humanity.
That's
And
right.
where we're at right now.
We have to toughen up in that regard and, get out of our reactive minds and realize everything we do has to be focused on putting this information out and attacking against the enemy, putting their disinformation out. So, that's what the great work is all about doing. Ivan, I basically was going to keep it to, the police and their supporters and that mindset. But since we've kind of hit upon a little bit of a theme of doing the great work, and you come to mind because this, ladies and gentlemen, is an individual who has very much ramped up his efforts in doing the great work. I want you to tell people about the work that you have done, because your conference was what I consider one of the most successful ways of doing a conference, even though it cost you personally. And, I know you don't maybe like to talk about that, and I'm not trying to make you quote any kind of a martyr or anything, but I'm trying to explain to people that sacrifice gets involved in this. Ivan put out so much money of his own to host the Truth Mind Reality Conference and did not recoup it. But he did it because it was the right thing to do. He had the resources to put toward it, and he said, that's more important than me making a profit. That's to me, phenomenal. That is the heart of what this is about, So I want you to tell people some of what you did with your podcast, with your conference, and, let them know what kind of a trial and ordeal some of that was like, because a lot of don't know what to expect. And I'm not trying to make it sound like it's all bad, but, I want them to know how they have to just put their nose to the grindstone and stop talking about it and just do it and let the chips fall where they may and learn from mistakes. So if you could speak to that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, Mark, it never fails that you always seem to light that fire, because here I am with everything going on right now. I'd honestly admit it feels like I'm going through a slight potential depression almost, because with the job where I'm at, the requirement mandating of the mask, so I attempt to, stay away from there as much as, so it's a constant kind of balancing of the thoughts, emotions, and actions, but
right.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, especially the way things are going now. So I was kind of feeling a little bit, not so confident. It's like, man, I'm not really doing anything and all that. And yet, look, here you go. And the first thing you put out, that conference. And I'm like, well, shit, yeah, I did do that, didn't I?
That's right.
So, but yeah, so.
That was no small effort either.
Say.
And your podcast, okay, you take breaks on that and go back to it. And there's no problem with that, but you're putting out good philosophy in there, and it's archived for people to go back to and listen at any time and download. That's what I'm talking about. You wouldn't consider yourself like any kind of a high-level computer expert, right?
Nope.
Okay. You're just an average guy. You call your podcast Guy Next Door Speaks. I love it. I love the title. I consider myself just a guy from South Philly. How did I stumble into all of this? I stumbled into all this by getting involved with some of the wrong people that took me into a really, really dark place where I saw some of the power behind the scenes. That's how it happened for me. I'm just some dude from South Philly. I'm not special. Right. I don't have any superpowers, right? So I work at what I do hard. Work at it hard. I go nonstop some days. Some days I say I'm burnt out. I need a rest day. That's it. And then I rest and I don't work, but it's, you got to steadily chip away and make progress and move forward. And it's going to take sacrifice sometimes, but you're just an average guy from the Southwest. I think you were originally from the West Coast. You moved to the Southwest, the East Coast, moved to the Southwest. You're in Phoenix, and you decided I'm going to make a podcast and try to explain what I know, what I've come to know about what's going on in the world. That's it. Ivan's just a regular guy. He doesn't have any superpowers. Yeah. What'd you have to do? You had to learn how a podcast works. You had to make a decision. What platform am I going to use? How am I going to record it? Let's learn some recording software. It takes a little bit of time. You got to expend effort. You got to spend some time doing that you would normally have spent doing other things. That's how it works. It's a trade-off. You spend that time, then you get something in return. You get some expertise, and now you have ability, and you have the ability to reach out to many, many other people.
Yeah, that's right. And again, yeah, like a lot of people start in different areas, whether it's the vaccine stuff or whether it's the healthcare stuff, the diet, or 9/11 was a big catalyst for people. And right now, not 9/11 2.0, right now with the COVID, that's waking up a lot of more people that hopefully will join the great work. But yeah, like you said, you lit the fire under my butt. I've said that plenty of times on my podcast. And
I kind of hammered on the action part until you finally got it. It's not just about what you know or understand. It's about taking action upon that knowledge, you know? So,
right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And it did start slow with me. Well, I can say slow with me, but it is slow stuff for some, or little for some can be big for others.
Guess what,
You know,
Ivan? That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Here, see, we're trying to build out a new site for the One Great Work Network. We're going to build it. It's going to happen, right? It's going slow. The documentary was going slow. We're making more progress with that now because of funding and a video editor. Okay, so it's moving a little bit quicker now. What on Earth is Happening is in full speed, right? That was really slow at the beginning. Nothing's going to be snap your fingers and ultimate fruition. Nothing works like that. Okay, slow and steady truly does win this race. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to see more people waking up more rapidly. Sure I do. Okay? But it means the people who are doing the great work to put that information out there, imagine if 500,000 people, a half of 1 million people, made the effort you made, Ivan. Just imagine if just 500,000 people in all this 7.5 billion people, if we duplicated you 500,000 times, how much effort would that amount to? A lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Okay? Imagine if we duplicated me 500,000 times. How much effort would that amount to? Right? This is what I thought we would have 1 million people doing this work by now. I really did. I really did. And see, people like Ivan are doing it. People like Corey are doing it. People like the gentleman before Gavin are getting ready to do it. Okay. Other people have already started. Some people are on the fence about starting. I say the same thing that I say to everybody who says, I'm on the fence about starting. What's holding you back? There's a fear somewhere. There's a fear or a trauma somewhere in your makeup that is holding you back. Get over it. It's not what's happening now. It happened in the past. You can't let that dictate your life. You have to do the shadow work to say, I'm going to release that trauma. Maybe it's a fear of public speaking. A lot of people have that one. Record your voice. That will help you get over it. You record it, you listen back like an audience member. Then you know what you're going to find? You do that for a few weeks or even a couple months, right? Let me tell you what you're going to find. This is what I did. And I didn't really have a fear of public speaking because I was in bands since I was 15 years old. I was used to getting up on the stage and screaming into the microphone. You know, I was used to getting up to, on the microphone in a hardcore band or a death metal band and telling people to go nuts and start a pit, and they'd listen. You know, I'd wind them up into a fervor. You know, I was a really good frontman and I was good at doing that. So getting up in front of a group was never a problem for me. But if it is, right, I did not like the sound of my voice, and I had to get over that. So what I did is I'd record it, and then I'd listen back. And I'd go, you know what? I still don't really like the sound of my voice too much, but guess what? What I just said, nobody else is saying. You know, it's like you're going to bring a unique delivery and a unique style, and you're going to value that, right? And you'll get over not liking your voice. You'll get over speaking in public. It'll happen, but you got to keep doing it. You got to practice. This is a practice, right? Nothing is ever perfect. You keep practicing at it and making it better, you know? And, you know, you did that by putting out episodes of Guy Next Door Speaks, and you did that with deciding I'm going to host my own conference. You went that far, and you did it, and you brought people there, and I'm telling you, it was probably the best conference that I was invited to and attended as a speaker.
Thank you. Well, because, well, I'll just run down through everything. 2007, I woke up to some stuff with Kevin Trudeau's work. I wonder if he's ever getting out of jail, but that's something else. With his work, and then listening to you around 2010, 2011, and then the kick in the ass to start a website, start a podcast, start a meetup group, and even there, with the meetup group, after about a year or two of doing those three things, people in the meetup groups, other meetup groups that I would attend would ask me, oh, you know all this stuff and everything. What are you doing? What are you doing about this? You talk all this. And it's like, oh, nothing much. I started a website. I started a meetup group, and I started a podcast. What are you doing?
But that is something. That's actually quite a lot. You know, that's not nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, yeah, like you start following the progressions, like, yeah, podcast, website, bringing people together. I need to bring more people together. And then the idea, the stars aligned, the universe came together for the conference because the work was so so heavy where I'm at that they were just giving money away overtime. I was like, okay, now seems like a good time where if the ticket sales won't cover it.
Yep.
It's something I want to do, pay for it out of pocket.
Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to what he's saying. He said, I know that I'm not going to be able to cover this right now with what I'm making, so he took overtime shifts to fund this event. That's sacrifice. That's dedication. That's making it happen, you know? So, I mean, that's just fantastic. So, yeah.
Well, again, fortunate for me, the way the world is many people don't have a good paying job,
right.
or, you know, so again, it's like, hey, make do with what I have.
You
I have
did
the opportunity,
with
the funds
what,
are there.
That's right. With the resources that you had at your disposal and what you were capable of doing, you pushed forward and did it. And you probably did that at the expense of other things. Hey, Ivan, you could have taken that money and went on a beautiful vacation with it. You know, you could have taken a cruise down to the Caribbean with it and relaxed. You chose to put the great work out there.
I could have got me a badass home theater.
That's
I could have had a badass home theater. You know how I love movies and all that, but no.
Right.
Priorities, principles
have to come first. Principles, right? First things first. Exactly. That's it, folks. That's what the great work is, right there. That's what it is to do. It's called getting involved. Get involved in the war effort, because we are at war. You know. So, Ivan, I thank you.
And I haven't really even stopped, Mark, because I don't know if you noticed. About a month ago, I took up your recommendations, suggestions, and truth of the matter about if we're going to continue doing the work, we need to invest. We need to actually stop using cell phones, tablets, and laptops and get, professional, dig into it. And for all these years, about 2007 through 2-3 months ago, I've been using the same Windows XP desktop. To do all this kind of stuff.
That's pretty dated.
And finally, I had updated to a laptop. The laptop was a Windows 7, and then they did the automatic update to Windows 10, but it was still a laptop.
Right.
And now, finally, a couple of months ago, again, with the funds coming in, I went and had a computer built. Nice, big, powerful machine, lots of memory, lots of RAM, lots of hard drive space. I went ahead and dabbled with that a little bit with my friend Francesco out of Italy. We put together one podcast episode breaking down some movie clips, and it worked beautifully the Zoom and screen sharing and all that. I was like, okay, yes, the technology and the power makes this better.
Everybody right now could have a home studio in their living room, in their bedroom. That is how far the technology has come. Right now, I'm in my bedroom. This is a home studio in my bedroom of my house. Okay, that's it. And look at what we're capable of. Look at what we're capable of putting together and doing. Okay? Right. So anybody can do it if they place a little bit of time and effort into it, take it seriously, look into the best practices for doing it, study it, and then you have to dedicate your time to it. You have to take time that you would do for other things and set those things aside and then say, this is going to be my time for the war effort, because that is what this is, and that is where we are at. We need more soldiers with boots on the ground waging this war. And there's no excuse, because all the technology is in our hands. We have all the tools that we need to do it. We have all the knowledge we need to do it, and we have the tool set we need to do it. Do you know what's missing? The will to do it. The will to wage this war. That's what we're not there yet with. So if more people get online like Ivan, and just say, I'm going to learn about this. I'm going to figure out how to do it. Doesn't matter how long it takes, folks. It's not a rush, right? Yeah, we're in the final throes of this battle right now, or it could get a lot worse too. But when I say it's not a rush, I mean, don't place deadlines on yourself. Just steadily learn and move forward, So, I'm not placing deadlines on like a new site I'm trying to build. I want it built well, right? I want it built so that people want to come to the site and use it. So it'll be finished when it's finished, but I'm working on it. We're moving steadily toward it. That's all it is keep moving forward. Don't give up. Persistence and some patience. You do have to have patience with yourself. Don't beat up on yourself if you don't understand something the first time. Go back to it until you do understand it and move forward. That's it. That's what the great work is to do. And Ivan, I thank you for your contribution to the great work.
Well, you're welcome, but thank you, because, I always say it, I listen to so many people and watch so many things, online, like a lot of the truth seekers, but you're one of the few up there that percentage-wise, statistically, it's like very high 90s. There's like very few things that people are like, well, I don't know about that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to agree with everybody, but the goal is to bring your, perception into alignment with as much truth as possible. I never claim to be perfect. There are some things that I, will get wrong. And then if I'm alerted that that's not correct, I'll acknowledge it and move forward and change my mindset about it. That's the process of having to admit that you're flawed and you can be wrong, and nobody has all the answers. However, when it comes to understanding objective morality, there are correct answers out there, and we can come to know them if we set our mind to it, and then we could teach others if we set our mind to that goal. So that is ultimately what it's all about. And I love to hear the fact that more people who interact with what on earth is happening and call into the show are really turning the corner from just being a passive observer and listener and viewer to actively doing something themselves. That's what this has all ultimately been about since day one, is to show people you can do this. I am nobody special. I just dedicated myself to it, my time, my effort, my patience, my persistence, until I worked it forward and got it to this point. And you could do the same thing. You're no different and I have no different ultimate capabilities of you as a human being. I just worked at it, and so can you. So Ivan, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. All right, that's Ivan from Phoenix. All right. Okay, let's hear from Jonathan. Jonathan, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome to the show.
Mark, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear. Welcome.
All right, well, I don't know if anybody here has ever seen my YouTube channel, but a good way to start, I have a Apple computer, and iMovie is an excellent initial start to just go into novice creating a video platform. You can edit your audio spectrum to get your background noise down. You can edit your video to make it cleaned up and look a little pretty. And that was my initial start. I just wanted to tell anybody here who's a little bit worried about starting something is that if you got an Apple computer, iMovie is an excellent initial start to start trying to make something, to manifest something, to start your great work instead of just patting somebody on the back and saying, thanks for your work, instead of getting your feet wet in the pond and joining us in this battle.
That's right. I agree, actually, Jonathan. I think that iMovie is a very simple video editor that a novice can pretty much put out a pretty polished video without knowing a more complex tool like Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere. I think Windows Movie Maker would be like the kind of equivalent, or I think they have a program just called Video Editor now on Windows 10 that would be the equivalent on a Windows-based system that a novice, for free, can just start experimenting with. Hey, look, folks, if you don't even like how you look on camera, you don't have to be on camera to do any of this, you could just put slides up to your voice and talk about them. Very easy to do in Video Editor or iMovie. If you see a little bit of limitations coming forward in that software, once you sort of master it and you want to do something a little bit more complex, then you move up to Premiere or Final Cut Pro, things like that. And there's tons of manuals and online video tutorials for things like that. It's all about a matter of how far do you want to take it? What kind of things do you want to do? If you just want to do an audio podcast, you don't even need to learn a video editor. Open up your recording software. Hey, you can record with your little recorder in your phone if you wanted to. I'm not saying that that's a great idea. You're probably not going to get great quality that way. I would use a semi-decent microphone, like a podcasting microphone. And you can get those for like less than $100, and
right.
Just hook it into your computer and you're off to the races. You don't need to even be on it. Then just save video and upload it, to save audio and upload it to an audio site. Or, like Jonathan is saying, take that audio, put it into iMovie, put some slides over it. Or just put one slide over it. Doesn't matter. Pick a nice slide. Make a logo. Mess around in Photoshop or Illustrator and make a logo. or just, pull an appropriate image down from the web and make that your image and just let people listen to that through YouTube. There's tons of ways you can start. You don't need to go gung-ho from the very beginning. For what I'm doing for the purposes of teaching people with how to become the new media is I'm trying to show them the very, very foundational building blocks of computing so that they have good practices when they use their computer and they don't mess up their computer. And then I'm going to teach them how to do some of the similar things that we do here for What on Earth is Happening. Making posters, advertising posters for live events, how to do presentations, how to make motion in presentations, how to do very simple videos. We may show iMovie or Final Cut how to build a simple website where you don't have to be a really super advanced webmaster. Very simple stuff, foundational building blocks of publishing. That's it. So don't be intimidated, ladies and gentlemen. You got to get your hands in there and get them dirty, make mistakes. That's the other thing. One of the tenets I'm teaching is there's a million ways of doing things. Stop, take your time, look, don't get overwhelmed, okay? Learn a little bit, do a little bit. Learn a little bit more, do a little bit more. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. These are the foundational tenets of the seminar I'm teaching. Mistakes help you to learn what not to do. So, Jonathan, if you want to give out, I'll let you keep going, but if you want to give out your YouTube channel, feel free so that people can check out your work as well.
Yes, it's Jonathan Piccone. It's just my name, just JONATHANPICCONE. And the reason why I've got motivated to do my YouTube channel is people want to say thank Mark Passio for your work, but initially it's going to take yourself to start whatever you're doing. You might have been an ember to start this pile of fire that you had for yourself, right? And being a former order follower pet for the Satanic Cult, military death cult, I'm a veteran in Ramadi, and I get a lot of fear, not a fear, but more of a anger that through me. And the thing is that I just see a lot of cowardice in people now. And I'll be honest with you, Mark, I'm scared to death to see that the manifestation of this, of what I've done overseas, is coming full circle on my own soil. And I tell all these guys that are prior military or police or even active duty that, you're no good. Even if you are going to follow orders, you're no good overseas. You're better off here, because all they're going to do is have you go somewhere else. You're going to be expendable asset over in a foreign country. And if you are going to bang it out with us, I'd rather you be here on the soil and pick your frickin' side than be somewhere else.
Right.
And the other thing is, Mark, is how do you harness that anger? Because it builds up a lot, and for some reason it's a release for me for a lot of my PTSD through the war.
Right. My answer to that is sometimes not well, sometimes quite badly. It affects me. I'm an emotional being. I'm not a robot. I'm as human as anybody else, and some people around me can tell you sometimes I don't handle it well. But what I do ultimately is I channel it into my work. So you can see the proliferation of my work, right? That's all driven by the fuel of anger of the injustice that is happening in this world and how they have fooled people, And I'm going to tell an anecdote about that, actually. Again, I believe it was Corey, and now you are reminding me of this. And now that you reminded me that you were a former order follower, I'd like to give a brief anecdote. And at some point in the near future, I may have artwork that reflects the exact scene. I'm describing it to an artist as we speak, who is going to be drawing it for me. But if you have anything else, I'll let you go now, and then I'll let you go to give this little anecdote about what we're talking about. So go ahead.
Sure. Well, for future reference, if you ever do a presentation on order followers, the etymology or the wording of the word infantry has the word infant in it. So it's literally in your face of what these expendables pets are.
That's right.
And
the Satanists I work with called the police and military their pets, and they give them dog tags. That's how their mocking symbolism works. Most people don't even understand that that's what they're saying to them, is that you're our pets, and we've trained you in the boot camp or police academy, and we will unleash you when we say, and you'll follow our orders and you'll follow our commands to do whatever we tell you to do to other people, like a well-trained dog. And that is the only name that they ever called people in the dark occult who were police and military. They referred to them as I've said many, many, many times on What on Earth is Happening, they called them our dogs or our pets. Nothing else. They never even referred to people in uniform as human beings. They never even called them humans or individuals. They used the term our dogs and our pets every time they referred to the police or military.
I think the biggest disappointment is the, quote, firearms community, because they seem to be some of the biggest statists, order-following lover worshippers.
It's unbelievable what bootlickers the people in the alleged patriot movement are. You're not patriots, you're fake-ass patriots. The people who think they're patriots and support the police, you are not patriots. You know, and that's not a left-leaning statement. That's not a right-leaning statement. That's not a political statement. That's a spiritual statement, and that is a consciousness statement. That is a statement of someone who is coming from the level of true spirituality, higher level consciousness, and natural law. And if you want to look at what a true patriot is, understand what I've said about true patriotism. I'm going to give a whole presentation one day called Fake-Ass Patriots. And boy, is that going to inflame some of those people.
Just bring reference to the history of Battle of Kings Mountain, where all the militia said, "Be your own officer."
That's right.
That's how the natives fought. They said, "You fight for your own plot of friggin' land that you're at." Yep. And that's how they conquered Battle of Kings Mountain.
Excellent. Jonathan, thank you so much. I think that's given people something to think about, and it's definitely going to be at least a future show on What on Earth is Happening, if not a full formal presentation called Fake Ass Patriots. That'll be coming.
Right. If you need any pictures of someone who has the look of a lost soul in their eyes, I have plenty of my own in the military, and what carnage and destruction can do when you allow somebody to tell you what to do.
Excellent.
So,
excellent.
Defend free will, and everybody be doing mirror work. Be looking in yourself instead of outwardly. Figure out what's going on.
That's what true self-respect is all about, and that's what coming out of this cult is all about. Jonathan, thank you very much. Very great call. Thank you. All right. See, this is the kind of calls we get here on What on Earth is Happening. You won't find this in any other program. You won't find callers like this anywhere else on the entire internet. I can assure you of that. Jonathan brought up the point, and Corey reminded me of this earlier, of what the dark occultists actually think of the military and the police. And again, this is sort of Jonathan began bridging this call-in segment back to talking about the police and the military, which we have talked about over the last 4 shows on What on Earth is Happening. And I'd like to give this little anecdote. When I was still a Satanist and I was attending rituals in my tri-state area and a few in Maryland, I'm in Philadelphia. The tri-state area is considered in the Delaware Valley here, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. That's what they call the tri-state area. New York is a little bit separated, and it's further north past New Jersey, so they don't consider that our tri-state, even though it borders Pennsylvania on the north. And they don't much consider Maryland the tri-state area. But you have to understand that a lot of Satanists are from the state of Maryland. It's a hotbed. Delaware in particular is a big hotbed because the DuPont family lives there. And they have set up a lot of communities in the state of Delaware. Small though it may be, it's a huge area for the Satanic Cult and belief system. Obviously, New York is one of the biggest hotspots in the world. I'm not going to talk about that because I didn't really attend many things in New York. Friends of mine have more experiences dealing with the different aspects of the Satanic Cult that I talk about in New York. But that's not really my area of expertise. Nor is New Jersey that much, but I did attend some in Pennsylvania, some in New Jersey, some in Delaware, and some in Maryland. When this was Walpurgisnacht, and I believe the year was 1997. I could be off by a year or two, but it was probably 97. I was at a home that was being used for the purpose of a Walpurgisnacht ritual in northern Maryland in a town called Whitehall. It's just the rural place, high, pretty affluent in general. And there we attended the ritual. It was very, I don't want to say completely informal, but it was like, we're going to do the working at, 9:20 p.m. Please be downstairs for that. You could mingle and talk and, enjoy refreshments up here. After the working is done, we'll move back up here. We'll go into this, reception area here, which is just basically like a den or a living room. And there'll be, food and other additional refreshments, and you could stay and talk until about 1 a.m. And that was it. So they did what's called a sympathetic working. In Satanism, there are 3 types of rituals. There are workings for sympathy or alignment with goals. There are workings for destruction, or those who are thwarting your goals to try to send negative energy to them. And then there are sexual rituals. This happened to be a sympathetic working or sympathetic ritual. I don't remember exactly what it was for, but I remember it being something that they wanted to pass legislation to do in the county that we were in Maryland. So that's what the ritual was for. And how it worked was they called this a mastermind. Everybody has to clear all other thoughts from their mind during the whole ritual, which involved darkness, candlelight, incense, bell sounds, some tones, possibly singing bowls to create a certain atmosphere, ritual elements like swords, daggers, cloaks, etc. Okay? And you can go on and on with the description of things and events and how they conducted the ritual. That's not important. What's important is the mental state that they demanded of the participants. You were to completely remove any other thoughts from your mind except what the working was for. And I'll tell you what, it does work. I don't get into ritual magic much myself, but I've done it outside of this environment to success, believe it or not. And I could talk about that as a further anecdote. But essentially, we went downstairs and everybody had to clear their mind of anything but the goal of what they wanted to accomplish. Meaning, we're going to get this legislation passed in this county. There will be no opposition to it. We'll get our vote through. The council members will get their vote through, or legislature, whatever it was. And no one will stand in our way. And if anyone does stand in our way, forces will be brought against them such that they will not be able to accomplish their goals. Now, what they instructed you to do was to not only keep the goal in mind, but to feel as if it was done. That's it. It's a done deal. You don't even have to think about it. We put the intent out, totally single-mindedly focused. And then we say, it's done. It's happening. It has happened, actually, is what they would tell you to think. That this has already occurred. Unequivocally. And then after that, don't think about it anymore. Put it outside your mind. Don't trouble yourself with it and just know it's going to happen. That's it. And it worked. They got it done. Again, I don't recall the exact thing that it was for because there were many different rituals I attended during the course of going to different satanic grottos. I don't specifically remember what this one was for. But it was some piece of legislation, as I recall. Then they said, okay, the working is adjourned. Everyone can disperse to the upstairs, living room area for refreshments. Everybody's welcome to stay till 1 a.m. And then we'll ask you to go to your separate ways because the owner of the home only wanted to host the party till that hour. Party, ritual, it was part ritual, part gathering, meeting, party, whatever you want to call it, socializing, networking. That's what they do before and after usually. We come up the steps and go to a reception type, buffet area. And I start talking to a couple of people while I'm picking some food from the buffet onto my plate. And one of the individuals is a kind of heavy set guy, probably in his mid-50s, possibly a little older than that. Hard to pinpoint it exactly. Mid to late 50s, maybe early 60s. kind of fat, definitely heavy set, let his weight go, dressed in, a simple, sort of a suit, not, I wouldn't say ultra expensive, a typical suit with a tie. Some people came in formal, semi-formal attire. I wouldn't go say there were people there in tuxedos, but semi-formal. Some people wore suit. Some people wore just dress pants and a jacket. Some people didn't wear a jacket. They just wore a shirt. I just wore a plain button-up shirt. Okay. Because, they didn't really care. There were no dress code for formality. It's just, everybody had a cloak with a hood for the ritual. Okay. At the buffet, we're talking, this is a heavy-set guy, suit, tie, mustache, no beard, clean-shaven other than not complete handlebar, but like a standard mustache, thick mustache. He was smoking. He was smoking a cigar. The host allowed smoking, obviously. We were all eating and drinking. We all had like meat on our platter. I was not a vegetarian or vegan at this point. And, just drinking. And they had some wine. They had water. I was just drinking water. I think he had a glass of wine. We had utensils like knives and forks on our plates, and it was just hors d'oeuvres and, some meats and cheeses, things like that. Now, there was outside, placed before the ritual, a off-duty police officer who was sort of young. I would say he was probably in his not early, but maybe mid-20s, okay? So he was in his mid-20s, and he was asked before we began to guard the house, to not take part in the ritual, but they said your services would be better since you're a police officer and you're armed here today, obviously from Maryland, okay, to just be our guard outside should anyone, happen to roll up here and, who knows, want to find out what we're doing or cause any of us, harm. And he said, yeah, absolutely. So he wasn't dressed in a cop uniform, but he had, simple black clothing on, long sleeves. It might have been a button-up shirt. I sort of remember it more as like he had a sweater, a black pullover, long sleeve, black slacks, black shoes. Looked like, a cop on duty, but without the uniform. Very traditional looking, short, jar cut style hair, Germanic Anglo-Saxon features, or Irish, very serious, very willing to please the owners of the home. He stands in a foyer, not a foyer, a patio area. The place where we were at had hexagonal windows, so you could see out to the patio area outside the main entrance, the main door. There was a driveway and a multi-car garage on the other side of the patio area. He's standing there outside and had been since the beginning. He didn't come in the whole time. He stood out there on guard with a firearm at his side the entire time. Okay? Inside, I started talking to a couple of people who were higher level Satanists than me in this grotto, which is what they call their covens. One of them, who was this older guy who had, this look of, a sort of fatter, slovenly type guy. I have said before on the show and in other descriptions that he looked like the stepfather of Harry Potter, Dursley. Can't remember his first name, but the father Dursley of the Dursley family. Looked a little bit like that. I wouldn't say exactly, but a little bit like that. Okay? Heavy set, a little bit of a double chin. That same mustache for sure. Hair, not even his hair looked kind of like greasy, not unkempt, but, like sort of greasy hair, comb over, like that. And he's smoking a cigar. He's drinking some wine. He's eating some meats and cheeses off his plate. And he's talking with his mouth full, too, I recall. And, like, not like, totally disgustingly, but as he's talking, he's chewing his food. And he starts talking about the cop outside guarding the ritual house. And he's like, can you believe these dogs? And I'm like, I don't even know what he's talking about. I'm like, what dogs? I didn't see any dogs. He's like, oh, no, I mean him. I'm like, what do you mean? The guard outside? And he's like, yes, there are dogs. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, they do whatever we tell them. They're just total loyal animals to us. They're our pets. You know, wouldn't matter how immoral the command we gave them was. They'll do it. So he was basically telling me, we own these people. You know? He said, we own all the police everywhere. And at that point, I didn't believe him. I do now. I certainly do now. He's like, anything we command them to do, they'll do. They'll sit when we tell them to sit. They'll stay when we tell them to stay. They'll attack when we tell them to attack. They'll kill if we tell them to kill. And I'm thinking, like, this rotten prick, I want to kill him right now. He's telling me that ultimately the Satanists of the world have control of all the police forces of the world. I already didn't like police because I didn't really like people who don't think for themselves and are order followers. But to think that this cult, I didn't really call it a cult then. I thought it was just, you know, people getting together trying to enhance their ability to get things done. Learn things that other people don't know so that they can leverage that knowledge and do things that other people can't. And my ego appealed to that. That's why I joined up with them. And he's telling me, no, we own all the police. There are animals. There are pets. There are dogs. You know? And they'll do whatever we tell them to do at any time, no matter how absolutely ruthless or immoral it is. And guess what? He wasn't telling a lie. He was telling the truth. And then he starts laughing at them. He starts laughing at the guy outside. And it's by extension, all police and all military, all order followers. He's laughing hilariously and saying, I can't believe how much they just don't think for themselves. They just let other people totally direct their actions. He's got food in his mouth and he's laughing. I thought he was going to choke. He was laughing so hard. It sounded like this sick belly laugh. Like, while he's got food still, like, in his mouth or, like, going down his throat, and he's laughing away like, oh, I can't believe it. They're just so fucking dumb. You know, they'll do anything we tell them to do. You know, in this deep belly laugh. Couldn't breathe at one point. Like could not breathe. He's laughing so hard at the guy doing his bidding outside the door on the other side of the window that he knew couldn't hear him. That's what they think of you, cop. That's what they think of you, soldier. That's what your owners and masters think of you. They call you their fucking dogs, their fucking pets, and they're laughing at you so hard they could almost choke on their own laughter. And you still give your mind to them, you give your behavior to them, and you know what you're ultimately giving to them, you dumb fucks? You're giving your soul to them. And you may hear that now and go, start laughing, oh, the soul, yeah. You'll find the fuck out. You'll find the fuck out. Guess what? You know the old saying, there's no atheists in foxholes? It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Because when it comes time for you to actually leave this dimension of existence and meet the creator and meet the maker and meet the force that put all of the laws of creation into existence, you won't be laughing, boy. You'll say you'll be laughing, but guess what? While you're dying and you're drawing your last couple breaths, you won't be laughing, fuckhead. Everybody laughs till it happens to them. Let's see you laugh on your deathbed. You ain't that hardcore, son. You ain't that hardcore. You think you are, but you're not. You won't be laughing. People talk about seeing people die. I've seen people on their deathbed. I've watched people die. Okay? I've seen it in my lifetime. You will not be laughing while it's happening to you. Then you'll be thinking, what did I do with my life? Then you'll be thinking, how was my behavior? Then you'll be thinking, where am I headed in a few seconds? That's what you'll be thinking. Or will I be headed anywhere at all? Okay? But I guarantee you, one way or another, you won't be laughing when that eventuality, when that definitive eventuality occurs. You know, you want to mock it now and mock, you know, creation now and say, oh, no, oh, that's all fairy tale. Let's see what your attitude is when you're actually pulling your last couple of breaths. And then let's see you laugh. You know? Then I'll say, oh, that's a hardcore son of a bitch and he went to his grave laughing. It ain't going to happen. Trust me, you're not that hardcore. If you were that hardcore, you would really be your own man and you wouldn't be doing the bidding of anybody else. Let's get that straight. You know, you're not as courageous as you think you are. You're actually very cowardly. You have a lot of cowardice. You're actually a coward because you do other people's bidding instead of the truth, instead of serving the truth and serving the will of creation, which is freedom, not control. So that's what they think of you. I'm going to have this scene drawn from my perspective of seeing it. Of seeing the guy in front of the window, laughing at the guy on the other side of the window who can't hear him, and calling him our dog, our pet. You know, and he'll reliably show up for the next ritual at the next grotto and protect his owners who look at him as an obedient dog animal. Right? That's what they think of you. And you still do it. And you think you have self-respect? You think you're some man? You're not even a man. You're a little boy with no self-respect that underwent some trauma, don't want to work on yourself to heal the trauma, and so you have parental abandonment issues, and these are your new surrogate family. This is your new surrogate mommy and daddy. And you think you're a man. You're a punk-ass bitch little boy, son. You never grew up. You never worked through any of the trauma that your parents caused you through their nonsense, through them not teaching you morality, through them ultimately abandoning you, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. That's what happened to you, son. You're a little boy who never grew up and never got past the trauma of fucked up parenting. And I'll say it right to your face in person. And now you're taking out all your rage and aggression. I'll fuck up the rest of the world. And you'll see. I was bullied, now I'll bully other people. I was traumatized, now I'll traumatize other people in the world. You're not in control of it, ass. You think you're in control, but you're the one who's owned. And your owners fucking laugh at you, son. All right? That's what they're doing, whether you know it or not. And I don't need to read about that in a book. That happened in my life, boy. And nobody's going to tell me it didn't. That happened in my life. I saw from their lips to my ears what they think of you. I heard. I saw it and heard it. So, having said that, I'm going to have that depiction drawn by an artist that we're working with and see if we can bring it up as a slide on a future What on Earth is Happening. Let's go to some more calls before we close up the show. Let's go to Mitch. Mitch, you are live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mark, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, loud and clear.
Hey, man, I really appreciate you taking my call.
Absolutely.
So I have actually, this call has been amazing. It's actually answered pretty much every question that I had. It's kind of funny how that happens. But so my question for you is, how long? So I've been doing this work for about 4 years. I've been in the absorbent process, just reading, research, and then helping like family members and people here and there. And when I get to my computer, I have all this knowledge, but it's like, where do I start? You know, that's where I'm at right now. And I'm taking your course, and it's actually came at like the perfect time.
Awesome. I'd like to ask you a question, if I may, about what you think of so far the first class. Do you think you're getting good value out of it? Do you think that I'm moving too fast or slow? Just give me your general impression quickly for the audience, just to give a little bit of a testimonial to how it's going so far.
Yeah, it's going great. I've gained a lot of knowledge just off that first course, and I've applied a lot of knowledge. I took a lot of screenshots, and I've been cleaning up my desktop and just kind of like looking at my computer and seeing, what I have, because I'm very technologically illiterate. I'm not very good with computers.
You're not.
I mean, I know
You're
a little
not
bit.
going to be any longer at the completion of this seminar. I can promise you that. You're going to know
Beautiful.
a lot more than you knew when you signed up. That's all. I will absolutely promise that.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I'm 100% committed, and this has like been a big thing for me personally. Like, I have this knowledge, and I have this, specific voice and this unique, gift, and I'm here for this reason. And when I get to my computer, I'm like, shit,
So your
Where do I start?
general question was, yeah, where do you start? Okay. So what are your strengths? You seem to have good communication skills and a decent voice. Would you want to put out a podcast? Do you have good writing strengths? Are you an artist of some sort? Tell me your strengths, and then we could kind of give you some formulative ideas about where you might want to start.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about my voice. I'm an okay writer. I'm pretty good. But I was thinking podcast, videos,
Yeah.
and but like I said, my issue right now is like I get to my computer and I'm like, okay, there's so much shit going on in the world. I have all
what
of
you
this
want to
going
start
on.
talking about. You're not talking
Yes,
about
what I want to start
okay.
talking about.
So it sounds like a podcast or a video podcast would be ideal for you. It sounds like you aren't too afraid of just putting your voice out there. You speak well, you communicate well. No problem. I don't think there'll be any problem there. Okay. And I try to gauge this, and I'll be honest with people. If they don't have too good in the way of a voice or communication, maybe you want to write articles, or maybe you want to take up art or music, right? But you seem to have good voice, good clear communication. I think a podcast would be perfect, whether it be audio or video. That's your choice. Where to start is a whole different story. Okay, as far as content. Now, you have to decide, are you going to focus on one thing or area, or are you going to be a generalist and go into the whole thing? So then I would say you need to make an outline, clearly outlining what you want to show people. So almost every one of my presentations or shows starts in a word processing document. It starts in a text editor, folks. A lot of people are very surprised to hear that, right? And a simple text outline of my ideas is where anything you see pretty much in What on Earth is Happening begins. So that's what I would recommend. I would recommend you start in a blank slate in a word processor, and you focus and put down your thoughts. And you say, I would like people to understand this first and foremost. Or if you have a specific target audience, okay, you say, here's my target. This is what I want them to understand. Here's how I'm going to tell it to them. And you write your thoughts out. Then you can clarify your thoughts. So let me tell you, folks, I'll just give you a little bit of background information, how we do this on What on Earth is Happening. I did this myself in the past and then refined those ideas. When Leah came on board as my assistant, what she will do is actually use a voice recorder and record what I say. I will have literal voice notes taken. Then she will put those into a document, and then we will refine the outline. I'll say, this is really what I want to cover. This isn't as important. We'll outline the ideas, okay, in a very pretty formal outline process. Then I will take those notes and outline, and I will start working on the presentation in the slides, and then I will beef up some sections, and some sections I'll trim out. She can help me find images, or some other friends help me find images sometimes. I just bumped my mic. I apologize for that. No problem. The former caller just said he would be willing to help with images. I take people's suggestions when it comes to images sometimes. If I don't have an image very clearly in mind that fits with a certain part of my presentation, I look up images as well, or videos, put them in the presentation, and then I start refining it, and it eventually becomes what it is. So what I would say, Mitch, is to sit with a word processor and just write out your thoughts, or record your thoughts. Take a voice recorder or record in your phone. It doesn't have to sound good because that's not going out, right? And just record into your phone and then copy that to the computer, send it to your computer over, Google Drive or something like that, or, via Wi-Fi if you know how to do that. And take that document, listen back, and then take notes on it and say, I can outline this way, and say, here's a section. Here's what I want to talk about in this section. That'll be the end of that section. I go to the next section. And then formally outline your thoughts, okay? Once you do that, you're going to have a much clearer idea. And I'm going to teach everybody how to do this. Like, we're going to go through all of that process in the class, okay? We will get to that in former classes. I'm teaching even more basic stuff than this right now. and just the components of the computer, the file system, etc. Okay, how to copy and move files, right? If you don't know how to do that, you don't know how to work with the file system, you're not going to know anything about programs, okay? So we're starting with the very basics, then we're going to move up to apps or programs. So I'll teach you some word processing. We'll do word processing and editing, and I'll show you how to make an outline for your thoughts. We'll go into voice recording. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I'll let you wrap up, and because we're running out of time, we got about 5 minutes left in the show. Does that help you at least get an idea of where your next step would be in that process to outline and refine your thoughts, and then choose the media that you're going to deliver your thoughts through? Because I have an outline, a basic, very outline, sitting right here for what I wanted to cover for this show. It's only a few lines because, I did a few slides. I read from the end of Confessions of a Former Bastard Cop, then I'm going to take calls. But I have a basic outline of how I want this show to go, to proceed. And I do that for every show. And sometimes I consult it, sometimes I have it pretty firmly in my head, so I don't consult my secondary computer too much. The secondary laptop has my notes on it, okay? But this is what I think you would want to do. You want to formally outline your thought process, refine it so that you know exactly clearly what you want to talk about, and then start actually doing that in whatever form you're going to do it, whether it be in audio form only, whether it be in video form, whether it be in presentation form or film, documentary, things like that, or short form film project for YouTube or any other, video sharing site. That's how you would want to proceed. So, what do you think regarding that basic advice and your ability to do it? I think you could probably learn how to do that in only a few classes that would only require a few hours of your time.
Absolutely. Yeah, that helps a lot, Mark. I really appreciate that. Yeah, thanks, man.
You know what it does? It helps you to formally get the message out there so you're not stumbling over things. You see it, and then you put it into some formalized way of presenting it. So this is exactly how I work for my big presentations, right? I make an outline. I say what I want to say in the outline, literally write it out. Then I consult the outline and I start building slides for each one of those points. And it takes as long as it takes, and it is as long as it needs to be. It's as big as it needs to be. But that's the procedural steps. In your thoughts come first. Write them down. Get your ideas clear on paper or on digital paper in this instance. Then start putting them into a formalized way of presenting. You're going to reach more people like that. They're going to recognize that you took the time to do that instead of just talking off the cuff, right? That's not really a formalized way of doing it. Get your thoughts clear. People will appreciate it. They'll be able to recognize, hey, you put some work into this,
Yeah, right. And I've been living kind of like so spontaneously. That's what I've been doing. Just kind of like, letting the energy of the moment dictate where my, conversation's going to go and what topic is going to be talked about. I haven't really sat down and organized it and, really, contemplated it and thought about it for too long. I'm just like, oh, I'm just going to talk to this person based off where they're at, and that's true. That's good. But like to have even like what I got from what you just said was like, even if you have a few words, you can say, oh, this topic of, police, I can talk for an hour about, or hours and hours about that. Just having that written down somewhere,
and the other thing you mentioned is, if you're talking to somebody one-on-one, they don't have the prerequisite knowledge. So in that instance, you might say, well, you can't really understand the totality of what you need to grasp about this topic until you understand some things over here that we haven't even talked about or discussed yet. See, that's why I did a very painstaking, long-form introduction to all the topics, and went over it for weeks, if not months. Because without all that prerequisite groundwork, hardly anybody's going to be able to hear what I'm saying now, especially in the, passionate, emotional state that I sometimes say it because of how badly our freedoms are being totally trounced, So I had to do all of that setup work, and that's why I always highly recommend people to start from the beginning. What you have to decide for yourself is what works best for you. Are you going to focus on one area? Are you going to teach general principles of philosophy and morality? Are you going to go back, cover a lot of ground like from square one, or are you going to like focus on just, hey, health and nutrition might be a forte that you have. You know, you're going to talk about, how to resolve trauma. You know, there's so many different areas that you could go into and so many different ways that you could approach it. But it all starts with clarity of thought, knowing what you want to talk about, knowing who your target audience is going to be, and then putting an outline of that on paper and then working from that outline. That's how I start everything I do here. So, Mitch, I hope that helps, and I really thank you for your call into What on Earth is Happening. Ladies and gentlemen,
thank you, Mark.
You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just about all the time that we have for this edition of What on Earth is Happening. I thank you for watching. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, government is slavery. That's not an opinion. That's not solipsism. That's point of fact reality in nature. And it is our great work to teach that to the masses at large. That's all for this edition, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you right here next week. Thanks for viewing.